The story begins inside the cave. Different types of monsters emerged and launched an attack toward a group of adventurers. Lawrence, the healer of the group, asked Morgan if he could still continue. After confirming with Lawrence that he was fine, Morgan then activated his unique skill Surefire and instantly defeated a monster. Learning of a skill that is guaranteed to hit its target, Lawrence always thought of it as terrifying. The leader of the group, Leon, told Lawrence that Morgan was not the only one who had a strong skill. Lawrence did not expect that he would witness Leon's lightning sword in their current situation. Mocking the monster for being slow, Leon eradicated multiple monsters with just a single blow. Lawrence, along with their party members, was always impressed with Leon's unique skill. All humans receive a skill from God when they reach the age of 6. However, the power of the skill varies. Most kids learn the meaning of inequality, like the protagonist of the story, Ryuk, who has the unique skill of luggage carry. Amazed at how skilled everyone was, Ryuk decided to focus on his work since he couldn't join the battles with his strength. Though his task stank, Ryuk still hoped that he could find good materials. Ryuk was then called upon, instructed by Leon to get everyone some water. Ryuk presented options for the group to drink but was interrupted by Leon, who told him that he stunk. After providing water, Leon then told Ryuk to continue gathering materials. Ryuk noticed that everyone seemed cold lately. The Black Lion of the Wise Eye was the group led by Leon, full of S-ranked adventurers. The party was currently attracting more attention for completing difficult missions. Although Ryuk was proud to be with the group since D rank, he also felt ashamed. With his unique skill alone, which allowed him to carry 10 times more luggage than others, Ryuk wished he could at least have a more combative skill and not just one suitable for an errand runner. In the world Ryuk lived in, there existed the concepts of weight and maximum load, in which Ryuk excelled. Reptile then called for everyone, informing them that she had found a super rare item. The others were very pleased as they had located the item they were looking for. Checking the status of the rare item, it was revealed that the person who equipped the large bag of the greedy could increase their maximum load to 5,000. Hearing the item's effects, Ryuk became nervous since the item's maximum load was 5 times more than his, which meant he was inferior to the bag. Leon then approached Ryuk, praising him for his work. However, with a sinister smile, Leon told Ryuk that he was now fired. It was revealed by the majority of the party that once they got the legendary item, they would kick Ryuk out of the team, removing the weakest member. Experiencing hardships together for the past 2.5 years, Ryuk told Leon that his joke was not funny and was too much. Kicking Ryuk's shin, Leon reminded Ryuk that he was just a small fry who only knew about carrying luggage. After kicking Ryuk in the chest, the others laughed, finding it interesting to call Ryuk the luggage carrier. Unable to understand what was happening, Ryuk pleaded for the group to take him. Admitting that he was useless when it came to combat, he reassured everyone that he would make their job easier by carrying all of their items. Although Ryuk had promised to be useful, Leon and the others only found him annoying. Following Leon's order, Morgan punched Ryuk in the stomach. Lawrence told Morgan that his attack wouldn't do and suggested they take the luggage first. Lawrence apologized to Ryuk, informing him that the value of his existence was only the contents of his bag. As Ryuk's consciousness faded, he remembered the words that Leon had told him 2 years ago. All that mattered to Ryuk was for Leon to fight comfortably, reassuring Leon that he would carry his luggage. Thanking Ryuk for his work, Leon told him that he was important to Black Lion's Wise Eye. Ryuk was very happy after Leon praised his unique skill. As the person Ryuk admired, he wondered if Leon had already forgotten what he had said to him before. When Leon told Ryuk that his skill was very strong, Ryuk was surprised, thinking that Leon remembered. But Leon revealed that he would never forget Ryuk's expression after receiving a compliment. Leon shared how he had fun with Ryuk, who was willing to be their slave after being shown a little kindness. Ryuk could not believe that everyone had never treated him as a teammate from the beginning. Noticing something, Lawrence took an item that belonged to Ryuk's mother. Believing they could sell the item for money, Leon decided to take it. After being told by Leon that he would have to use his power in order to get the item back, Ryuk was then filled with rage, which empowered his whole body, allowing him to stand up. Surprised by his newfound power, Ryuk thought it was the hidden ability of his unique skill, luggage carry. When Ryuk suddenly charged at Leon for an attack, he was astonished by how fast he was. However, it was still not fast enough for Leon, as he easily knocked Ryuk out with just one kick. Ryuk was confused, believing he should be strong enough with his new awakening. However, he could no longer stand up. After having his head stomped by Leon, Ryuk realized that everything that had just happened was all in his head. Grabbing Ryuk's hair, Leon reminded him once again that he was just a small fry. Leon then told Ryuk that he was welcome to challenge them anytime and take back his mother's keepsake. After being left for dead, Ryuk felt that something was pressing down on him. Thinking that he would be eaten by magic beasts, Ryuk then noticed that he felt something warm. Ryuk became curious about what was on top of him. It was then revealed that a young woman was sitting on Ryuk, assuming that he was a seat cushion. The woman was shocked as she did not expect that someone would be lying on the ground. Seeing the woman's underwear, Ryuk mistakenly mentioned the color first. Realizing his mistake, he immediately corrected himself, asking for help. With a disgusted look, the woman then calls Ryuk a pervert. The woman asks Ryuk if he was a pervert, similar to people who pretend to be exhausted to peek at underwear. Tears rolling down his eyes, Ryuk cannot deny that he had seen the woman's underwear. Ryuk was pissed as he could not believe that before his life ended, he would be scorned by a girl after being abandoned by his teammates. Believing that his death is inevitable, Ryuk was surprised when the woman approached him, pointing something at his face. It was revealed that it was the woman's favorite dango. Although the dango is not a potion, the woman shares that it still can restore physical strength. The woman had decided to trust Ryuk, as she had doubts that he was a real pervert. The woman instructs Ryuk to finish eating everything once he starts. Though the woman has a cold face, Ryuk finds her very strange. Starting to munch down on the food, Ryuk was having difficulty chewing the food since his body was starting to feel numb. Seeing the woman salivating, Ryuk tried to give some to the woman, but the woman refused, as she did not want to break the rules. Hearing the ridiculous dango ideology from the woman, Ryuk could not help but think of water. For sharing her favorite dango with him, Ryuk thought that the woman may be a good person. After introducing himself to the woman, Ryuk asks her why she is inside the cave. The woman revealed that she is looking for the large bag of the greedy and heard that it can be found inside the cave. Realizing that the woman is looking for the item that Leon and the others found, Ryuk tells the woman that someone already took the item. The woman found it a pity and decided to just go back. Ryuk asks the woman how she plans on going back and informs her that the path she is taking is where magic beasts are known to appear. After advising the woman to just stay in their current location where it is safe, the woman reveals that she knows the danger that lies ahead. Judging by how the woman looked, Ryuk assumed that the woman entered the cave using the demon repellent potion. Despite being a consumable, the demon repellent potion is still heavy. With the structure of the dungeon, conquering it would take quite a bit of time. Ryuk does not think that the woman has enough potion for her to return. After receiving multiple warnings from Ryuk, the woman kept on telling Ryuk that she knows. As the woman turns around, Ryuk uses all of his strength in order to save the woman, who was about to get attacked by a lizard monster. Getting injured in the process, Ryuk checks his bag if there's still something he can use. Grabbing a demon repellent potion, Ryuk throws it at the monster, creating a smoke screen. Gaining 10 minutes to escape, Ryuk grabbed the woman and fled the area. Curious as to why Ryuk saved her, the woman tells Ryuk that she would be troubled if something happens to him while trying to protect her. Ryuk asks the woman about her unique skill, planning to work together in order to take down the lizard man. The woman refused to reveal her skill, as she thought that Ryuk would be disappointed. The woman tells Ryuk that she is useless since her skill is just an amulet crafter. The woman's skill can only create a type of amulet called omamori, from the materials of magic beasts. Such amulets are items that only need to be carried in the bag, in order to utilize their inherent effectiveness. The effect of the amulet increases the user's strength, magic power, or stamina by a little. However, carrying 2 or more amulets will cancel out their effects. Amulets are adored by the less informed newbies. However, since newbies do not have much knowledge of dangers, it is said that adventurers who enter the dungeon carrying an amulet will die. Amulet Crafter is well known to be the weakest production skill. As the effect of the monster repellent potion runs out, the woman tells Ryuk that they will then face their death. After telling Ryuk that her skill is not useful, the woman is still confused as to why Ryuk suddenly asks her to make an amulet for him. Believing that they will ultimately face death, the woman wonders why Ryuk is still smiling. After creating 6 pieces of amulet for Ryuk, the woman wonders the point in creating so many when one person can only carry one. The woman thought that Ryuk is crazy for believing that the amulets would work, more especially since his weapon is just a bamboo skewer. The woman covers her eyes as the demon repellent potion has run out. The woman was shocked to see that Ryuk managed to pierce the bamboo skewer through the lizard man. The woman couldn't believe that she just witnessed the power of all of her 6 amulets combined. With his action, Ryuk was able to confirm his theory that a luggage carrier can carry multiple amulets at once. Although Ryuk is not sure about the specifics, the luggage carrier gives special properties to carrying things. Ryuk remembers a similar experience where he carried 2 cursed items without canceling their effects. Ryuk realizes that his luggage carrier skill is able to manage each item separately, as if putting them in separate rooms. Listening to Ryuk, the woman realizes that Ryuk will keep on getting stronger without a limit, the more amulets he has. Planning to return to the city, the woman introduces herself as Mio Kokono, and tells Ryuk that he is her destiny. Covering her face, the woman realized how embarrassing what she had just said, and wished for the ground to just swallow her up. Pleased to hear when Mio called him her destiny, Ryuk turns around and thanks Mio. Although Mio kept telling Ryuk to not call her by her first name, Mio regrets calling him her destiny. Forming a party together, the two have decided to return together. In order for them to return, Ryuk tells Mio that they needed to collect more materials in order to make more amulets. One by one, Ryuk and Mio collected the materials needed and eventually created 6 more attack prayer charms. Seeing one of her amulets being hung outside of the bag, Mio tells Ryuk that he doesn't need to hang it outside, and that it won't be her fault if he gets laughed at. Ryuk wonders why Mio has no confidence in her own amulets, as he believes that her amulets can be of great help. In order to get his mother's keepsake back from Leon, Ryuk will have to find his way back alive first. Surrounded by multiple monsters, Mio becomes worried as she deems that Ryuk won't be strong enough to handle such a large number. Believing that they will die because her skill is too weak, Ryuk reassures Mio that her amulet is the strongest, which he will prove. Mio couldn't believe that her hand stopped shaking after Ryuk just patted her head. Mio becomes more confused when Ryuk suddenly throws away his knife. Ryuk reveals that the best way for them to survive was fighting the monsters with his bare hands. Meanwhile, Morgan was thrown on the ground. After asking Morgan if he was okay, Leon tells Morgan that arrogance is always present in strong people like them. Seeing Morgan struggling to fight a spider monster, Leon believes that it was unlike Morgan. Leon noticed that ever since they chased Ryuk away, the gears connecting them have started to fall out of sync. The team was now walking on a path of continuous failures. After being told by Ryuk that he will prove her amulets are the strongest, Mio was very curious as to why Ryuk just threw away his knife. Mio knows that it is impossible to fight so many magic beasts barehanded. However, she herself feels confused as her heart is pounding so much. Charging towards multiple monsters, Ryuk easily knocked the lizard man down with one punch. Staring at his hand, Ryuk thought that his fist was better than using a knife that he hadn't practiced with. Impressed with Ryuk's strength, Mio then warns him of the incoming bats on his left. Blocking the attack with just his arms, Ryuk couldn't fully protect himself, receiving an injury. Mio becomes worried for Ryuk's safety since the amulets she made are only for offense. Believing that her amulets are still not enough to help Ryuk, Mio has decided to fight in her own way. After receiving encouragement from Ryuk, Mio now plans to enhance her amulets even more. With the purpose of protecting Ryuk, Mio created an amulet solely for defense enhancement. Mio then calls for Ryuk, giving him a new amulet he could use. Ryuk was very pleased and thanked Mio for giving him a defense prayer charm. Mio reminds Ryuk about proving her amulets to be the strongest. Mio then asks Ryuk if he would be fine with her hating him if he couldn't prove his words. Ryuk responds to Mio that he is fine with her conditions, while holding 2 monsters and being bitten by others. With multiple attack and defense prayers in Ryuk's bag, Mio believes that Ryuk now has enough strength to get them out of the cave. All of a sudden, a loud sound engulfed the whole cave. Although Ryuk couldn't see the source of the sound, he felt that it was coming. Ryuk was in shock, as the source of the sound was a massive monster, which made him wonder if it was the boss of the cave. Using the power of 12 attack prayer amulets, Ryuk picked up a stone and threw it at the huge monster. Dodging Ryuk's attack, the monster then jumped in front of them, knocking Ryuk and Mio into the air. The boss monster then tried targeting Mio with its web. However, Ryuk blocked the attack, which led to him being swung hard into the wall. Still conscious after being slammed, Ryuk believes he would have died if it weren't for Mio's defense amulets. Realizing that the silk is a strong adhesive, Ryuk thought he would have a hard time removing it by himself. Mio was worried for Ryuk, since his right hand was completely tied. However, Mio was more surprised when Ryuk started grabbing the silk with his other hand. Mio tried to warn Ryuk about the stickiness of the web, but Ryuk reassured Mio that it was fine and advised her to stand back. With all his strength, Ryuk pulled the web from the boss monster, causing it immense pain. Confirming that Mio's amulets were the strongest, Ryuk then pulled the boss monster until he was swinging it. Proving the power of Mio's amulet, Ryuk smashed the boss monster after swinging it wildly. With one move from Ryuk, the boss monster was defeated. Amazed by Ryuk, Mio believed that the massive monster was the dungeon boss, which is called the Earth Dragon Spider. The monster was rumored to be undefeatable even for strong adventurers. Admitting to Ryuk that she was on the verge of giving up on herself, Mio thanked Ryuk for proving the power of her amulets. Seeing Ryuk's silent reaction, Mio felt embarrassed. Ryuk then apologized and explained that he was just thinking of something. Feeling enthused, Ryuk wished to confirm how strong he would become if he combined his power with Mio's. Meanwhile, Leon was lying on his back and noticed that Morgan was still fighting a monster. Seeing Leon stare at the item, Reptile asked if he no longer planned on selling it. Leon had changed his mind, deciding to keep the item as a memento to remember Ryuk's dedication. Leon believed his kind act would make people empathize more. The others laughed as they couldn't believe Leon could make up such a beautiful story about Ryuk's death. Leon mentioned that only in the presence of the weak can the strong truly shine. Leon then asked Morgan if he was different from Ryuk and hoped Morgan wouldn't make him draw his sword. Morgan warned Leon that the monster was strong, but Leon still proceeded to attack it. Missing his swing, Leon ended up getting jumped by the monster, surprising his teammates. Reptile and the others hastily defeated the monster. Exhausted, Leon then asked Morgan if he got overconfident. Asking if Morgan no longer trusted him after chasing Ryuk away, Leon blamed Morgan for making him fight the magic beast, which led to him getting injured. Morgan told Leon that his accusation was incorrect, explaining that he fought the monster with all his strength. Leon did not believe Morgan's words after witnessing such a messy performance. Holding Leon, Lawrence asked him to calm down and mentioned that they just coincidentally encountered a strong monster. Leon agreed with Lawrence's theory as he himself couldn't explain how it took all of their strength just to defeat one monster. Suddenly feeling immense pain in his arm, Leon realized he was poisoned and asked Lawrence for the antidote. Lawrence tried looking for the antidote but was unable to find it. Listening to Lawrence, Leon then accused him of pretending not to find it so he would die. However, Lawrence insisted he really couldn't find the antidote. Leon then compared Lawrence to Ryuk, who could easily take things out. With the antidote no longer an option, Leon told Lawrence that a poison recovery spell would do. Lawrence reminded Leon that items are much faster than casting magic. Leon became angry and asked Lawrence if he was going to blame him for everything. Exhausted and in pain, Leon questioned why they were struggling so much with just one spider, wondering what had changed from before. Back in town, news spread about the reports of deaths and injuries caused by the Earth Dragon spider. Two men having a conversation in a bar wondered if Leon and the others were okay. The old man wasn't worried about Leon and his group since they were a party of S-rank adventurers. The two men were surprised when the Black Lion of the Wise Eye entered the establishment, all beaten and injured. Approaching the group, the old man asked Leon what had happened to them and where Ryuk was. Showing Ryuk's pendant, Leon told the old man that he had only been able to get Ryuk's pendant when the Earth Dragon spider appeared, which made Ryuk run away. Based on Leon's story, Ryuk had been chased by the Earth Dragon spider, ended up isolating himself, and was killed in the process. Slamming his fist on the ground, Leon blamed himself for being weak and not being able to protect Ryuk, who was supposed to have died at the hands of the Earth Dragon spider. Touching Leon's shoulder, the old man didn't know how to comfort him but still wished to tell Leon something. He told Leon not to blame himself since caring too much for his teammates was both his strength and his shortcoming. As the others shed tears for Ryuk's supposed death, the guildmaster, observing from the top, was told by the woman beside her to comfort the group as well. However, the guildmaster had a different reaction, doubting that Ryuk had really run away. Lying on the bed, Leon then asked the others how much they had received. After collecting the adventurers' insurance money and support money, Reptile calculated that the amount they got would be enough for everyone to buy new weapons. The group laughed so hard thinking everyone was gullible. Leon praised Ryuk for finally doing something good for them. Not only had the group received money, but Leon also believed that his chance of receiving a hero medal had increased even more. When one of them thought of Ryuk being alive, Leon scoffed, believing Ryuk couldn't have survived since he was just a brat who couldn't do anything alone. Meanwhile, Ryuk and Mio continued their journey, looking for a way out. The two had run out of recovery medicine and had been walking continuously for several days. Ryuk wouldn't have been surprised if one of them collapsed on the spot soon. Seeing natural daylight at the end of their path, Ryuk and Mio were relieved that they would finally be out of the dungeon. However, more bad news awaited them. Thieves were lying in wait, asking for Ryuk and Mio's treasures. The bandit, thinking Ryuk and Mio were weak based on their appearance, ordered someone to investigate. Using the appraisal skill, the thieves learned that Ryuk was a luggage carrier and Mio an amulet crafter. The thieves then laughed upon learning that the two had what they considered trash skills. After their skills were mocked by the bandit, Mio felt depressed. Ryuk and Mio's situation wasn't good as they were both exhausted. Adventurers are easily targeted by robbers on their return because they are likely to be fatigued. Thieves commonly wait for adventurers since they usually carry rare items on their way out. Mockingly, the bandit asked Ryuk to put his bag down, not expecting Ryuk to tell him to move aside. The bandit laughs at Ryuk, asking him if he really thought they could return home safely. Insulting the amulet dangling from Ryuk's bag, the bandit asks if his mother gave it to him. The bandit tells Ryuk that wearing an amulet is the same as announcing that they're an idiot. Laughing hard, the bandit stopped only when Ryuk told him to move for the second time. Believing that Ryuk couldn't understand his words, the bandit then activated his inherent skill to teach Ryuk a lesson. However, what happened instead was Ryuk breaking the bandit's sword. The bandit looked puzzled, unable to believe that Ryuk blocked his sword with just his bare hand. The bandit, proud of his hardened sword skill which can cut through even steel, was curious as to what Ryuk did. Crushing the sword even further, Ryuk reminded the bandit again to move. Scared out of his wits, the bandit fell back as Ryuk was about to leave the dungeon. The old man, who witnessed something impossible, decided to check the contents of Ryuk's bag. Another bandit then wondered if Ryuk had an S-ranked body enhancement item. The bandit asked the old man where the item was so he could steal it. However, the two were shocked to learn that the bag was just full of amulets. The old man began to consider the effect of the charms accumulating. When Ryuk asked the two if they found what they were looking for, they immediately ran away, fearing for their lives. Turning back, Ryuk told Mio that they could now safely return. However, the bandit had already grabbed Mio, making her a hostage. The bandit then threatened Ryuk. Before the bandit could instill fear in Ryuk, he was surprised when Ryuk suddenly vanished and appeared behind him. It was revealed that Mio's new charm, called Swiftness Prayer, gave Ryuk an insane boost in speed. Realizing that he couldn't win against Ryuk no matter what, the bandit released Mio and begged Ryuk to show mercy. Ryuk apologized to the bandit, informing him that it was already too late. The bandit couldn't believe what he heard from Ryuk. Wanting to forgive him, Ryuk could no longer do so as he had already broken the bandit's wrist. Leaving the dungeon, Ryuk asked Mio if she was injured. Holding her hand, Ryuk told her not to get separated from him since it was dangerous. Staring at the bright sun, Ryuk thought he would never see it again. After 10 days inside the dungeon, Ryuk had finally seen sunlight again. The members of the Wise Eye of the Dark Lion received gratitude for responding to the kingdom's quest. The group was then informed that their task was to protect the soldiers while they fixed the wall in case of a sudden monster attack. Reptile whispered to Leon, stating that the task was too simple. However, Leon advised Reptile not to underestimate the task, as it would give them a chance to prove their might for future opportunities. The knight then remembered that the group had a boy with a backpack and wondered what had happened to him. Realizing the knight was talking about Ryuk, Leon told the knight that Ryuk left since he was unable to keep up with the group. Calling Ryuk weak, the knight then asked Leon to give them a moment. After 20 minutes, the knight told Leon and the others that the other knights behind him would be joining them. Leon did not expect more knights to join them. He was now annoyed since they wouldn't be able to prove their strength with the knights fighting alongside them. When a swarm of wyverns appeared, Leon smirked, deeming the wyverns weak and hunted them all the time. Receiving the signal from Leon, Lawrence used his unique skill called Snake Eyes on the knights. One of the knights recognized the skill that immobilized the target for a few seconds, which made him wonder what the Wise Eye of the Dark Lion was doing. Running towards the wyverns, Leon told the knights to leave the fighting to them, claiming the wyverns as their prey. Later that night, Mio told Ryuk that she had placed her trust in him and decided to stay by his side. However, Ryuk kept telling Mio that her decision was a mistake. In shock, Ryuk believed that successfully booking an inn had always been his strength. However, there were no rooms left at the inn. Sharing her bright idea, Mio told Ryuk that if they got drunk, they would surely come up with a good idea. Ryuk thought Mio's idea was ridiculous, as he had never heard of an idea for trying to come up with an idea. Ryuk then realized that Mio was the type of person who lets problems solve their own problems. Entering the bar, Ryuk expressed how it was his first time in a bar for Easterners. As the two drank wine for their safe return, Ryuk was confused since they were drinking from square cups. Before Ryuk could notice, Mio had already started eating a big dango. Ryuk then realized that he did not know much about Mio and wondered if he should take the chance to know more about her. Drinking the wine, Ryuk asked Mio about the reason she entered the dungeon alone. Since she was talking with Ryuk, Mio thought she could share it with him. It was revealed that Mio's father was being harassed. Where Mio was born, people were subjected to horrible bullying just for having weak skills. Aside from putting animal carcasses on their front porch, the walls of Mio's house also had "Get out of the country" written down. Their storehouse was also burned down. When Mio tried asking for the reason for the bullying, an old lady told her that she couldn't let people with weak skills near her children and grandchildren, thinking that being weak might be contagious. Ryuk commented that what people said about Mio's skill was just an old wives' tale. Mio agreed with Ryuk but believed that people's words had some truth to them. It was known that skills were hereditary, which meant that children could also receive the same as their parents. Ryuk thought that harassing a person based on how weak a skill is was just awful. Mio revealed that her father's skill was also the same as hers, an amulet crafter. When it was revealed that Mio's skill was also an amulet crafter, on the day Mio turned 6, her father apologized to her over and over again. Wanting to comfort her father in any way possible, Mio told him that the amulet crafter skill was the strongest skill. Mio then set out to prove the usefulness of her skill. She only needed someone to use her amulet, which made her believe that she would then be acknowledged. With the money her father saved up, Mio was able to find work in a country with less stigma on skills. Even though she was laughed at day by day, Mio still kept going since someone bought one of her charms. However, one day, Mio was approached by the knights. When she asked what was wrong, the knight showed her a bloodied charm, asking if she was familiar with it. Showing Mio a corpse, the knight told her that they couldn't identify the body since there were missing limbs. The knight then asked Mio if she knew anything about the man. Recognizing the man who once bought her charm, Mio thought that the man's death had nothing to do with her. However, she could not fathom the thought that her efforts to be acknowledged had affected the life and death of a man. Wondering what her next goal would be, Mio overheard a conversation about the large bag of greedy, which enhances every item the user owns. Thinking that her amulets would be enhanced, Mio was left with no choice but to believe in the stupid tale and wandered alone into the dungeon. Even though Mio didn't find what she was searching for, she was still glad to enter the dungeon because she found Ryuk inside. Embarrassed, Mio hastily drank the wine. Thinking that Mio may have had one too many, Ryuk suggested that they get some water for her. However, Mio claimed she was not drunk. Carrying a drunk Mio on his back, Ryuk could not concentrate since he could feel Mio's chest on his back. Finally reaching the inn, Ryuk placed Mio on the bed. Knowing that sharing the same bed with a woman was a bad idea, Ryuk decided to try and look for somewhere else to sleep. Ryuk stopped when Mio asked him to stay. Mio was afraid that when the sun rose, Ryuk would no longer be there for her. Though she had only known Ryuk for a few days, Mio felt like it was a beautiful dream where only great things happened. Mio cried, expressing how she no longer wanted to wake up. Listening to Mio, Ryuk decided that the both of them would prove the power of the amulet crafter. Mio was puzzled as she did not expect that Ryuk would actually help her. Ryuk shared that the reason he became an adventurer was to help somebody. As a luggage carrier paired with Mio's amulet crafter, Ryuk wanted to see how far they could go to prove their goal. Meanwhile, a woman was practicing her slashes and assessed that she still couldn't keep up, even with a sonic slash. The woman wondered what she could do to reach a high level. A knight wielding a sword and shield was sobbing, as she was once again left by Alicia. The woman was shocked after witnessing Alicia bathing in monster blood. Alicia asked Kyun if she wished to join in taking a bath in blood. Punching the monster's carcass, Kyun got startled and ended up falling over in a pool of blood. Kyun cried as she was now getting sick of being Alicia's bodyguard. Alicia told Kyun that when they feel their dead enemies with their flesh, they will become stronger. Alicia von Farman was very much known as the strongest knight. On Leon's side, a knight asked everyone who came up with the idea of summoning the wise eye of the Dark Lion. On his knees, Leon could not believe that they struggled so much against the wyverns. Leon told the knight that they hadn't shown their full strength yet and that they normally would win against the wyverns. Realizing that Leon was still not getting the situation, the knight thought of him as pitiful. The knight then told Leon that the young man had left him. Confused, Leon wondered if the knight was implying Ryuk. Cursing Ryuk, Leon wondered what Ryuk had done to them. Ryuk tells Mio that the easiest way for them to prove the power of Amulet Crafter was to succeed as adventurers. But to receive an adventurer's permit from the guild, one needs a skill appraisal certificate to confirm their strength. It is known that Rata is a famous appraisal master, which made Ryuk decide to have Rata appraise their strength. Standing in front of a tent, it was revealed that the tent was Rata's skill appraisal center. Hoping to receive good results, both Ryuk and Mio entered the room. After being welcomed, Ryuk was confused to see a kid. When Ryuk asked to be guided to Rati, he thought that the kid was not telling the truth when she told him that she was Rata. Though Rata looked like a kid, she revealed that she was already 25 years old, which shocked both Ryuk and Mio. Knowing that Ryuk and Mio were customers, Rata then asked the two to let her appraise their skills. Calling Mio a kimono pervert, Rata wished to start with her. While Mio could not believe she was being called a kimono pervert, Ryuk was surprised to learn that it wasn't only him who thought Mio's clothes were a bit revealing. Mio became nervous when Rata asked her to remove her clothes. Mio was curious about her position and asked Rati about it. After telling Mio that it was just her appraisal process, she then asked Mio if she liked Ryuk and if she could accommodate him. Rati then started work and used her skill, Great Appraisal. Ryuk was in shock to see letters floating in the air. They then praised the floating letters after following her orders. Stating Mio's skill as an amulet crafter, Rati also revealed that Mio gained 2 new skills, which surprised Mio. The new skills were revealed to be Mass Production and Amulet Crafter Level 2. Mass Production is a skill that creates amulets in multiples. Amulet Crafter Level 2 allows Mio to make new amulets. Surprised to be able to make new amulets, Mio was very curious as to what happened, as she hadn't been able to gain such skills when she tried before. Listening to Mio, Rati guessed that the method Mio used before was wrong. Rati then pointed out that Amulet Crafter isn't just about making amulets, it's also about the wearer growing stronger. Staring at each other, the two realized that they were able to make each other stronger. Calling Ryuk a turtleshell kid, Rati then called for him to be appraised next. Seeing Ryuk's back, Rati couldn't help complimenting it and was very excited to see Ryuk's results. Embarrassed, Ryuk asked about the connection between his back and his appraisal results. After being appraised, Ryuk became nervous and asked Rata about the result. With a disappointed look, Rata told Ryuk that he was going to face hardships. Stating Ryuk's unique skill as luggage carrier, which allows Ryuk to carry more, Rata believed that although the skill is useful, it is only suitable for manual labor. After listening to Rata, Ryuk was saddened to learn that he didn't make as much progress as Mio did. Ryuk became alert when Rate mentioned that he also gained 2 new skills. Seeing Ryuk's surprised look, Rate told him that excitement was strictly forbidden since Ryuk only gained ordinary abilities. The first skill is called Luggage Carrier Level 2, which allows him to carry 3 times more luggage than before. Although the new skill is convenient, Ryuk did not look happy to gain such a skill. As Rate was about to tell Ryuk the second skill, which she also deemed mediocre, she was shocked upon reading something from her paper. Apologizing for being startled, Rate told Ryuk that the skill was called Turtle's Blessing. When Ryuk asked if it was a strong ability, Rate responded that the skill itself was weak. The effect of the skill makes Ryuk's teammates stronger if he carries more luggage, a special skill for support. However, no matter how much luggage Ryuk carries, the effect can hardly be felt. Though the skill is thought to be dubious, since Ryuk is a luggage carrier who can carry 30 times more luggage than a normal person, it means that Turtle's Blessing is also 30 times that of normal people. Whoever teams up with Ryuk will most likely become incredibly strong. Seeing that Ryuk gained the 2 skills 2 years ago, Ryuk asked if his teammates had suddenly become inexplicably strong 2 years ago. Exhausted and feeling defeated, Leon still wondered why they were struggling against small fries when they were S-rank adventurers. Ever since they fought the Earth Spider Dragon, Leon and the rest of the Wise Eye of the Dark Lion had started to struggle. Wondering if they were under some kind of curse, Leon erased that thought from his mind, believing he would have noticed something that significant. Reminded of the knight's words, Leon grew curious as to their meaning. He remembered that it was just him and his teammates who went through the dangers. Leon then thought that someone who resented them must be the culprit. The others were alarmed when Leon suddenly started laughing. He asked if they wished to remain humiliated as they were now, reminding them that their current state was not how the Wise Eye of the Dark Lion should be. Leon then informed everyone that he had finally identified their enemy. He stated that the lion is the king of beasts, the one who would catch its prey no matter the cost, just like them. Lawrence then asked Leon who they were going after. Meanwhile, Ryuk and Mio visited the Adventurers Guild to register as a party. Apologizing for making the 2 wait, the guild staff informed them that they could not allow them to form a party after reviewing their skill appraisal certificates. In shock, the 2 went to a tavern and began drinking again. Ryuk thought they should have expected the result, as no one would allow an amulet crafter and a luggage carrier to form a party. Ryuk wondered if they should invite a frontliner or if he could become a knight or something. Mio then informed Ryuk that becoming an apprentice knight would take months. Ryuk thought it would be nice if someone could appraise their true strength. Out of nowhere, a man walked past Mio and asked her if she was having trouble finding a party. The man then told Mio that her hair qualified her. With that reason alone, he advised Mio to leave Ryuk and suggested she join his party instead for her own benefit. Seeing Ryuk react, the man suddenly punched Ryuk, throwing him onto a pile of crates. Others began to notice that a mess was about to happen. As Mio immediately went to Ryuk's aid, the man pointed out how weak Ryuk was and claimed he held no value. He then reassured Mio that he could make her happier if she joined him. The people inside the establishment recognized the man as the A-rank adventurer, Rencoin Gold, known for philandering. However, his current actions were deemed too much. Using Snake Eyes, Rencoin Gold subdued Mio. As Mio couldn't move her body, the people recognized that Rencoin was using his unique skill on her. Rencoin advised Mio not to move, confident that she might not like it at first, but she would get used to his techniques. The onlookers believed Rencoin would use his skill just to kiss Mio, and thought of him as despicable. As Rencoin pouted his lips and was about to kiss Mio, Ryuk hastily stood up and grabbed Rencoin by the cheeks. With his strength, Ryuk threw Rencoin across the room, breaking a table in the process. Rencoin wondered where Ryuk had gotten all the strength he just used and was even more curious as to how Ryuk managed to stand up and reach him so fast. Ryuk agreed with Rencoin that a man is weak if he has no value. That being said, Ryuk made it clear that Rencoin was even more worthless than him. Staring at Ryuk, Rencoin began to question whether Ryuk was really just a useless luggage carrier. Alicia, who had already reached more than 1,000 pull-ups, was interrupted by Kyun, who reported that the dragon had already been defeated, suggesting they end their training and return to the guild. Kyun expresses her concern for her well-being, as it was revealed that she and Alicia had just recently defeated a dragon. Exhausted from the fighting, Kyun complains that she no longer has any strength, comparing herself to a newborn fawn. Alicia sighs, as she can never find a strong opponent that she can fight to the death. Back at the guild, Rencoin, proud of being an A-rank, cannot believe that he was bested by a luggage carrier. Angered, Rencoin pulls out his sword and charges toward Ryuk. Not wanting to cause more trouble for the guild, Ryuk plans to lead Rencoin outside to minimize the damage. However, Ryuk notices that he suddenly cannot move. He later finds out that Rencoin has used his unique skill Snake Eyes on him. Seeing Ryuk affected by his skill, Rencoin believes he has already secured his win and tells Ryuk to just give up and fall victim to his beloved blade. Because of Mio's defense prayer, Rencoin did not expect his blade to bend with its tip pointing toward his face. While Rencoin is puzzled as to what had just happened to his weapon, Ryuk explains that it was the effect of his amulet, then apologizes for ruining the sword. Promising to compensate Rencoin for the broken weapon, Ryuk bows down and accidentally headbutts Rencoin's sword, activating the attack prayer and breaking the sword even more. Frightened after seeing what happened to his weapon, Rencoin flees and calls Ryuk a monster. With the help of Mio's swiftness prayer, Ryuk is able to catch up to Rencoin. Holding the broken sword, Ryuk asks Rencoin to wait as he wishes to compensate for the sword he broke. However, Rencoin is more surprised that Ryuk is able to keep up with him at full speed even while carrying someone. Realizing that he cannot convince Rencoin, Ryuk stops, unable to believe that someone would just toss away their precious sword. Seeing how bent the sword is, Mio agrees with Rencoin and suggests to Ryuk that he should just toss it away. As Alicia arrives in town and encounters Ryuk and Mio, she approaches them, surprising Kyun. When Alicia grabs the sword, Ryuk pleads for her to return it, but he is shocked to see how huge Alicia is. As she grabs the tip of the sword, Ryuk wonders what she is going to do. To his surprise, Alicia fixes the sword with just her brute strength. Alicia then comments that a knight's soul is their blade and breaking it is akin to death. After thanking Alicia, Ryuk notices that she is not an ordinary person, especially after seeing her strength and the dragon fangs she carries. Believing that Alicia knows how to fight very well, Ryuk calls out to her, asking if she could train him in swordsmanship. Surprised, Mio becomes curious about Ryuk's intentions. Ryuk thinks that he was only saved due to the amulet and would have died without it. He does not want to rely on the amulet, believing he will soon reach his limit. After telling Alicia that he wants to become stronger, Alicia suddenly strikes Ryuk with his weapon, burying him in the ground. Getting a nosebleed, Ryuk did not expect that Alicia would suddenly attack him. Alicia explains that she wanted to know how strong Ryuk was. Kyun immediately apologizes for Alicia's actions, as she did not expect that Alicia would do such a thing again. Alicia reveals that the force she is putting on Ryuk is equal to the weight of 3 carriages. If Ryuk can stand up with all the weight she is putting on him, he would then be qualified to train under Alicia. Kyun was unsure if Ryuk was still alive after seeing the damage done to the ground, commenting how only Alicia herself could withstand such a blow. Suddenly Ryuk stood up and asked Alicia if what he was doing was good enough. Kyun was in total disbelief and wondered what kind of person Ryuk was. After hearing Alicia's name from Kyun, Ryuk asked if she could now train him. Seeing Ryuk smile, Alicia became confused and wondered if the weight was not heavy. Ryuk responded that it was heavy. However, he was more amazed by the technique Alicia used, applying an immense amount of force and concentrating all the pressure on one point. Ryuk felt fortunate that such a skilled person would be the one to train him. Alicia asked if he was not afraid. Ryuk admitted that being suddenly attacked was frightening. However, the thought of being able to get stronger excited him even more. Nervous, Kyun asked if Ryuk was some sort of battle maniac. Mio did not think that Ryuk was a maniac, but she remembered how Ryuk had the same smile back then. Alicia then told Ryuk to hold his sword tight, as she wanted to see if he could become an opponent she could fight to the death. Confused, Ryuk asked if they couldn't just practice. However, Alicia ignored him and told Ryuk that it would be swell if he could kill her. But knowing that Ryuk was not capable of that, Alicia only wished him good luck. As Alicia swung her weapon, Ryuk tried to block the attack but ended up breaking Rencoin's sword. Due to the powerful force, Ryuk was thrown against a wall. Seeing that Alicia was actually serious, Kyun now wondered what she should do. Thanks to the defense prayer, Ryuk did not sustain much damage and did not pass out. Still being pushed by the force, Ryuk tried to get a firm stance. However, he couldn't stand his ground. Seeing Alicia dashing toward him, Ryuk wondered if he was facing a monster. Still being pushed by the force of the attack, Ryuk's only thought at the time was that, if he could learn from Alicia, he would surely get stronger. Using what was left of the broken sword and with the help of Mio's on-target prayer, as well as the attack prayer, Ryuk launched a surprise attack. Alicia was able to block Ryuk's attack with her weapon. With the swiftness prayer, Ryuk was able to maneuver his way out of the canal and jumped right back at Alicia. Grabbing the broken sword that was stuck on Alicia's weapon, Ryuk pulled it down, breaking Alicia's weapon in half. Ryuk then reminded Alicia of what she had said to him about the blade being a knight's soul. Finally meeting someone she could fight to the death, Alicia wondered if she was dreaming. Pinching her cheek so hard that she ended up injuring her face, Alicia's face brightened as she confirmed that she was not dreaming. Ryuk, surprised, informed Alicia that she had pulled too hard. As Kyun was about to approach Alicia, she was surprised to find Alicia now behind her. Alicia then told Kyun that she had found the one. Kyun became nervous and asked Alicia if she was serious. Puzzled, Ryuk asked for an explanation of what was happening. Kyun then formally introduced herself as a servant of the Knights of the Farman family. She explained how Alicia was searching for someone to fight her to the death and pointed out that Ryuk was the person she was looking for. Since Ryuk still did not understand, Kyun explained how she believed that Alicia had fallen for him. Both Mio and Ryuk were shocked to witness love at first sight. As they left town, Ryuk asked Alicia to repeat herself one more time. Alicia stated that she was looking for a deathmatch. She then claimed Ryuk as her husband, deeming him stronger or even stronger than she had thought. Ryuk was now terrified. Unable to follow Alicia's words, Kyun offered to speak on Alicia's behalf. After asking Alicia to lower her weapon, Kyun explained that Ryuk had been caught up in one of Alicia's Heihi days. Seeing Mio and Ryuk's confused expressions, Kyun explained how Alicia had devised a plan to train Ryuk into an outstanding knight so that he could become her enemy. However, Alicia found herself in a dilemma between her battle-craving heart and her loving heart. Still confused, Ryuk asked what Kyun was trying to say. Kyun told him that the moment he destroyed Alicia's weapon, the dark side of Alicia's conscience realized that Ryuk would be her deathmatch until the end of his days. Alicia was already imagining how the two would fight each other from their wedding until they grew old together. Sweat poured down Ryuk's face as he asked if he had the right to refuse. Kyun made it clear that if Ryuk had truly been able to escape from Alicia, he wouldn't be sitting with them right now. Mio became concerned as she saw Ryuk sweat even more. Although Ryuk was sweating from nervousness, Kyun believed that Ryuk might also be a monster for being able to break Alicia's weapon. Seeing Ryuk caught in a ruckus, Mio knew that if she didn't do something, Ryuk would be doomed. Grabbing Ryuk by the arm, Mio told Alicia that she and Ryuk were actually dating. Ryuk was once again surprised by Mio's sudden revelation. Claiming they were in a relationship, Mio believed that was reason enough for Alicia not to marry Ryuk. After being called honey by Mio, Ryuk realized what Mio was trying to do, and felt the need to apologize to her for being forced to help him. Upon learning that Mio and Ryuk were lovers, Kyun found the situation even more interesting. Hearing the word lovers, Alicia stood up, frightening Kyun. As everyone wondered if Alicia was angry, Alicia suddenly grabbed Mio, telling her that they were the same. Alicia then asked Mio if they could be friends, since they were both their husband's lovers. Kyun, who initially thought the situation was getting interesting, gave up, no longer able to understand Alicia. When the carriage finally stopped, Kyun revealed that they had arrived at the land belonging to a line of royal knights, the Farman family. Ryuk couldn't believe he was entering the place where apprentice knights were trained to become top-notch warriors. Confused, Ryuk asked why they had come to such an establishment. Kyun revealed that Alicia was the eldest daughter of Sir Lilicabra, the current lord, meaning that Alicia was the next in line. After formally introducing herself as Alicia von Farman, Alicia expressed her desire for Ryuk to train at the Farman family household. Since Alicia had other duties, she couldn't train him directly. In her place, other suitable knights would teach Ryuk how to fight. Alicia hoped that Ryuk would fight the knights to the death, become stronger, and surprise her. Although Ryuk wished to become stronger, he grew nervous, realizing that what Alicia was asking of him was far beyond what he had expected. The title of apprentice knight can be obtained after staying in the training grounds of the Farman household for a month. Watching the people fight each other with all their might, Ryuk thought that he would definitely become stronger in the Farman household. Noticing that Mio was with them, Kyun became curious as to why Mio wanted to become an apprentice knight. When Ryuk clarified that it was him who wanted to become an apprentice knight, Kyun thought Ryuk was joking. Based on Kyun's assessment, Ryuk already had the abilities of a holy knight. Under the chivalric titles, the holy knight is considered the highest, while the apprentice knight is the lowest. The chivalric titles can only be obtained by training under a master and getting their approval. Kyun assumed that Ryuk had been training since the day he was born to achieve such abilities. However, Ryuk revealed that he had only been able to fight for half a month. Since Ryuk wasn't accepted as a frontliner at the Adventurers Guild, the two were hoping to get the knight title so they could form a party. Kyun grew more frightened upon learning how strong Ryuk had become after just half a month. Kyun then guided the two to a room and informed them that they would be staying there for the time being. They were both amazed at how big the room was. When Kyun asked if they wished to meet the Lord, Ryuk responded yes, wanting to thank him for his generosity. When Ryuk finally met Lord Lilicabra, Alicia's father, he did not expect Alicia to tell her father that Ryuk was her husband. For the last 21 years, Alicia had only known fighting, so Lord Lilicabra was surprised to learn she was about to marry someone. Ryuk tried to explain that there had been some sort of mistake and clarified that he was only at the Farman household for swordsmanship training. He explained that aside from his training, everything else was Alicia's idea. Drawing her sword, Alicia's sister asked Ryuk if he really broke her sister's sword. Ryuk was taken aback, as he did not expect the woman beside the Lord to be Alicia's sister. It was then explained that a knight's soul is their blade. However, Ryuk was surprised to learn that breaking a weapon during battle meant it was a proposal of love. Angered that Ryuk dared to propose to her sister, Alicia's sister tried to put him in his place. Vanishing and suddenly appearing in front of Ryuk, she attacked. but with the help of the swiftness prayer, Ryuk dodged the strike. While Ryuk tried to calm Alicia's sister down, she declared that the only person who could be Alicia's deathmatch was none other than herself, Chloe von Farman. With a sword pointed at his face, Ryuk thought their resemblance was uncanny, leaving him to wonder what he should do. Meanwhile, Leon and his group were in a dense forest. Leon shared that someone jealous was strengthening the monsters they were fighting. If it weren't for this jealous person, Leon believed they wouldn't have struggled so much against the wyverns and spider monsters. As Leon vowed to capture the person making their life miserable, Lawrence began to doubt Leon's words, wondering if the monsters really had enhancement magic on them. Neither Reptile nor he could feel anything, and Lawrence questioned if such spells even existed. Lawrence felt uneasy, wondering why Leon was making a victorious face. After announcing that she is the only person fit to be her sister's deathmatch, Chloe could not believe that someone would dare to claim to be her sister's husband. As Ryuk tries to explain his side, Chloe continues to ignore him and even requests that Ryuk fight her. Chloe wishes to settle the score with a single strike right away. If she wins, Ryuk would have to stay away from her sister immediately. But if Ryuk wins, Chloe would give Ryuk her complete blessing. Hearing the conditions, Ryuk doesn't think that the rewards are fair. After announcing the condition of giving her complete blessing, Chloe then declares that she will hire the best chef in the land to serve at Ryuk and Alicia's wedding. When Chloe stated that she could also cook for them, a thought came into Ryuk's head that Chloe definitely can't cook. Ryuk can't think of a reason at all for them to fight, as all he needed was the Apprentice Knight title. Appearing from a window, Alicia tells Ryuk to accept the challenge. Seeing Alicia climbing the windows again, Chloe becomes worried. When Ryuk did not refute being called Alicia's husband, Chloe thought that Ryuk really could defeat her. Alicia then tells Chloe that she is wrong, as Ryuk and her are great death matches for Alicia. If both Chloe and Ryuk focus and train hard, Alicia is sure that the two will become even stronger. Alicia announces that the fight will take place half a month from now, and she wants to see the two focus on each other during the death match. Before the announced date comes, Ryuk will be training under the guidance of Kyun. When Chloe expresses concern over the duration of the final battle, Alicia stretches out her hand, making it clear that the fight will happen after half a month. Everything eventually gets settled, and Ryuk is now training with Kyun under Alicia's request. Kyun expresses her gratitude towards Ryuk as she no longer has to run around with Alicia for the time being. Serving Alicia meant experiencing life-threatening battles every single day, but for the next half-month, Kyun only needs to train Ryuk. Out of nowhere, Alicia appears beside Kyun, informing her that it is time for a deathmatch. Confused, Kyun explains that she still has to train Ryuk. Alicia, more confused, believed that Kyun would be training Ryuk and doing a deathmatch at the same time. Kyun is shocked as she is then dragged away by Alicia. Seeing his instructor being dragged, Ryuk is asked by Mio how he will train now. Ryuk decides to start his training by swinging his sword while they wait for Kyun to return. As the day turns into night, Ryuk still swings his sword. When Mio points out that it is already dark, Ryuk thinks they could start again next time. However, they suddenly hear a voice announcing that she has come to train Ryuk. Recognizing the voice as Kyun's, Ryuk is shocked to see Kyun all battered and beaten. Crawling, Kyun apologizes to Ryuk for being late and suggests that they begin right away. After advising Kyun to rest first, they later learn that Kyun's unique skill is instant teleportation. Kyun explains how her skill has a confusing name, End Portals, but suggests that Ryuk and Mio just think of it as teleportation. Kyun reveals that Alicia and she were just fighting under the sea. Realizing Kyun had a tough day, Mio offers her dango to Kyun. Not expecting such a generous act from Mio, Kyun cries, thinking of her as an angel. Mio ends up comforting Kyun for an hour straight, a result of the terrifying days spent following Alicia. Since Mio is good at taking care of people, Kyun eventually regains herself. The two become close to the point where Kyun asks Mio more about her love story. Mio becomes embarrassed and tells Kyun that there's not much to tell. Though Mio and Kyun get along well, Ryuk starts to wonder about his training. Seeing Kyun pester Mio about whether she and Ryuk had already kissed, Ryuk realizes that Kyun is a sucker for romantic stories, as she even believes the fake relationship he and Mio have. Ryuk wonders if Kyun can really teach him, as his impression of her is just of someone being bullied by Alicia. After indulging in enough romance, Kyun stands up and tells Ryuk it is now time for them to train. After being advised by Kyun to go first, Ryuk becomes nervous as he feels Kyun's aura change. Since Ryuk has taken off his backpack, he wants to see how far he can go with only his swordsmanship. The two then clash swords with one another. Kyun recognizes that the sword has not yet ingrained itself into Ryuk's muscles, and suggests that Ryuk put more strength into his swings. Although Ryuk learns pretty fast, Kyun believes this is because of his experience as a luggage carrier. Kyun guesses that Ryuk may have witnessed and learned from a handful of swordsmen and their techniques. Though Ryuk is receiving praise from Kyun, he also notices how she effortlessly blocks his strikes, even with just one hand. As someone who has always served under Alicia, Ryuk knows that Kyun is not someone who can be considered weak. Counting himself as very lucky to have a good teacher, Ryuk swings his sword very hard, which leaves a good impression on Kyun. Kyun thought that she wouldn't need to use her other hand for a few more days, but she did not expect Ryuk to improve so quickly. Kyun heard that most of Ryuk's power comes from multiplying the effects of amulets, but as someone who has never held a sword, Kyun could not believe that Ryuk was already able to stand his ground against Alicia. Once Ryuk gets proper swordsmanship training, Kyun believes she will be able to create a monster. The days of hard training have begun. Part of Ryuk's training involves learning the basic principles of knighthood and becoming stronger, but after 5 days, Ryuk begins to doubt himself. Staring at his sword, Ryuk wonders if he could really defeat Chloe in a sword fight. Chloe's blade is so fast that Ryuk can't see it even with Mio's amulets. A fight settled with one serious strike makes Ryuk question if he could win at all. Asking Kyun's opinion, she is silent for a moment. Kyun then honestly tells Ryuk that as of right now, he cannot win against Chloe. Ryuk asks if he still couldn't win even with Mio's amulets. Kyun responds to Ryuk, yes, while praising both Ryuk and Mio's skills, believing that they may have the strongest combination. However, Kyun immediately notices an extremely significant weakness. Kyun's words leave the two puzzled. Meanwhile, on Leon's side, Leon asks his party how they would define a hero. Not expecting the question, the others answer that a hero is the world's savior, or maybe the one who defeats the Demon King. Leon tells them they are wrong. Leon states that the hero of an era is the one who rises above and gets his name burned into people's memory. Saving the world and defeating the Demon King are just parts of the process of becoming a hero. One by one, Leon lists the qualities that a hero must have. Having the strongest hold on the emotions, heart, and soul of the people in his era is what Leon believes a hero should be. After telling the others that he does not oppose their idea of a hero, Lawrence asks why Leon suddenly brought up the topic. For someone to enhance the monsters they are facing, Leon believes that they must have stood out. Ryuk believes that it's now time for their enemy to reveal themselves. Taking out a bag of carrots, Leon plans to lure their enemy by using the heavy smell. Fighting a weak monster, Leon wants to determine if the range of the enhancing magic reaches their location. Lawrence realizes that Leon's action is the safest way to assess the risk. Leon plans to see if the surrounding area is affected by the enhancing magic. Leon believes that if the enhancement magic does not reach them, then they would be able to defeat the monster with just one shot. Charging at the small monster, Leon swings his sword. His smug look immediately turns to fear as his sword is easily blocked by the rabbit's horn. Reptile thinks the monsters are being buffed as well, since Leon's strike cannot even cut the horn. Wondering if there is a very strong spell in play, Leon's thoughts are filled with the intent to kill the small monster at all costs. Bringing out his unique skill, Lightning Sword, Leon initially doubts whether it will be enough to kill the monster. However, still believing himself to be the hero and to possess the power he once had, Leon continues to charge at the monster. Ryuk was very curious about what their party's weakness was. Kyun tells the two that no matter how many amulets Ryuk gets from Mio, there would still be an undeniable weakness. Before putting it into words, Kyun wants to see it in action for herself. Kyun then asks Ryuk to use his amulets and a real sword. Ryuk did not expect that Kyun would request him to fight with all his strength. As Ryuk wears his backpack, Kyun tells him to strike at her whenever he wishes. Ryuk thought that if he used his swiftness prayer and dashed around, he would surely get a hit on Kyun. Wondering about their party's weakness, Ryuk immediately proceeded with his plan. However, Ryuk suddenly falls to the ground, surprising both Mio and himself. Kyun apologizes, revealing that she was just messing around. Ryuk learns that Kyun teleported half of her blade, cutting his bag in the process. Kyun tells Ryuk that their weakness lies in the destruction of the carried luggage. She adds that if it were Chloe, she would be able to destroy the bag with more speed and precision. With Kyun's demonstration, Mio realizes that Ryuk must protect his bag while fighting. Still unable to believe that he lost so easily, Ryuk asks to go at it one more time. However, Kyun refuses, informing Ryuk that they're done. Seeing the confused Ryuk, Kyun explains that he cannot overcome their weakness by just training with her. She advises Ryuk to spar with many other knights, pointing out that battle experience is the greatest teacher. Ryuk is told that starting tomorrow he will face the Knights of the Chosen. The next day, people at the arena are surprised to learn that a mock battle with the Knights of the Chosen is happening, but they wonder who their opponent is. Everyone questions whether the person they see, a weak-looking knight wearing a backpack with an amulet, is really the one fighting. Nervous, Ryuk wonders if he really has to fight in front of so many people. As Mio cheers for him, Kyun informs Ryuk before stepping into the arena that the Knights of the Chosen are 10 knights whose excellence has been acknowledged by the Farman family. When Ryuk asks about the purpose of the helmet he is wearing, Kyun reveals that it's to block skill appraisals. The helmet was crafted to be unaffected by appraisal skills, hiding Ryuk's skills from the viewers. Kyun sets one condition for Ryuk when fighting the knights. He can bring only 15 amulets. Ryuk believes that carrying 5 attack prayers, 5 defense prayers, 3 swiftness prayers, and 2 on-target prayer charms will be enough. One of the chosen knights then calls Ryuk's attention, guessing that he is not a farman. Feeling disrespected at being forced to fight an amateur like Ryuk, who still carries amulets, the knight wishes to end the fight with one strike. Introducing himself as Gilman, the 10th chosen knight, he vows to be the knight who slays Ryuk. As Gilman swings his sword, Ryuk easily dodges the attack with the help of the swiftness prayer. Impressed with Ryuk's speed, Gilman assumes that Ryuk's unique skill is swiftness, a skill that enhances the user's movement speed but hinders their attack power. Activating his unique skill called Hardening, Gilman states that Ryuk won't be able to stand after he lands a hit on him. Mio is shocked to see Gilman's body covered in metal. Believing that Ryuk would not be able to do anything while his unique skill is active, Gilman is surprised when Ryuk suddenly appears in front of him. With one swing from Ryuk, Gilman's unique skill is easily destroyed. Gilman is puzzled, as in all the many battles he has fought against people with swiftness abilities, Ryuk is the first person to ever penetrate his hardening skill. Seeing Gilman lying on the ground, the arena echoes with the crowd's voices, curious about Ryuk's strength and unique skill. Mio is also surprised by Ryuk's growth. Realizing that Gilman had a defensive unique skill, Ryuk thinks he needs to add one more attack prayer to the max. The exhausted Leon was finally able to defeat the rabbit, but he had to struggle first before securing his victory. Leon then wondered how he would defeat the rest of the rabbits that had appeared. Realizing that it was impossible for him to win, Leon threw the carrots away. Seeing what Leon had done, Morgan warned him never to throw the bag since it carried a scent that the monohorns really liked. Both Lawrence and Reptile were surprised when the bag landed in front of them, and they saw Leon running away, leaving all of them behind. As the others called for him, Leon questioned his own behavior, unable to believe that he was actually fleeing. Tripping over a tree root, Leon once again focused his attention on the person who was supposedly buffing the monsters they were fighting. Forcing himself to believe that he wasn't running away, Leon found a pair of adventurers and immediately suspected that they were the cause of their misfortunes. When Leon appeared in front of the 2 adventurers, the female adventurer was startled and asked Leon if he was okay. As the woman was about to use healing magic on Leon, the male adventurer asked her to wait as he noticed something off about Leon. Without looking at Leon, neither the woman nor the other adventurer expected Leon to suddenly stab her with his sword. Smiling maniacally, Leon felt victorious, believing that he had finally defeated the person who had been buffing the monsters they were fighting. The other adventurer charged at Leon, enraged by what he had done to his partner. Feeling no guilt, Leon introduced himself as an S-rank adventurer and claimed to fear nothing. However, to Leon's surprise, he ended up being slashed by the adventurer's unique skill, Evil Ending Slash. The people in the arena cheered for Ryuk for gaining an absolute victory over Gilman, requesting that his unique skill be revealed. Within the crowd was Chloe herself, unsurprised that her sister Alicia had brought someone so strong. Ryuk noticed Alicia within the crowd and remembered that he would not be recognized as a knight without defeating her. No matter how many amulets Ryuk carried, Chloe could finish him immediately if she aimed for his bag. Although Ryuk received advice from Kyun to accumulate more battle experience, he still wondered if that would be enough. The defeated Gilman, who still couldn't believe that his ability had lost, was approached by another knight who thought of him as a disgrace for losing to an outsider. Out of nowhere, the person's shadow suddenly wrapped itself around Gilman, trapping him completely. Calling Gilman an old man past his prime, the man introduced himself as Gannett, the 9th place among the chosen knights. In the name of Farman's knights, Gannett vowed to kill Ryuk. The crowd became lively again as Gannett the shadow puppeteer appeared. With Gannett's skill, the crowd was sure that Ryuk would no longer survive. Witnessing what had just happened to Gilman, Mio saw how Gannett split her shadow and used them as blades. This meant that Gannett could easily land a sneak attack. Gannett would be a tough opponent for Ryuk as she could easily target his backpack. Ryuk, currently carrying 15 amulets with him, wondered what his next steps should be. Gannett could attack both from the ground and from the front, making Ryuk divide his attention. Ryuk lowered his stance. With his view lowered, he believed that he could now guard both directions at once. Looking at Ryuk's stance, the crowd laughed as he looked like a thief. Chloe, who did not share the crowd's amusement, thought of something unpleasant. With the gong being struck, Gannett immediately went on the offense, using her shadow to strike Ryuk. Remembering her first encounter with Ryuk, Chloe noticed that he was now better guarded compared to last time. Seeing Ryuk improve so quickly, Chloe found it very unpleasant. Ryuk easily deflected one of Gannett's shadows with his sword. Noticing that he was being trapped by both Gannett and her shadows, Ryuk swiftly moved forward, evading the trap. However, Gannett's shadows were still following him. Ryuk countered all of Gannett's shadows, forcing Gannett to change her plans. Covered by her own shadow, Gannett noticed that Ryuk no longer had his sword. She later realized that Ryuk had thrown his sword at her and it was already close to her head. Ryuk found Ganet's shadows to be very annoying and refused to fight her any longer. As Ryuk's sword hit Ganet's head, it was announced that Ryuk had come out victorious. Receiving the tip of Ryuk's sword, Ganet fell to the ground. The crowd was in shock as they could not believe that even Ganet would lose. They were now thinking that Ryuk was no ordinary man. Seeing Ryuk defeat the 9th chosen knight, Mio was now more confident that Ryuk could defeat Chloe, while the others thought of Ryuk's win as a fluke and that the 8th chosen knight would defeat him. All of a sudden, Chloe stood up and announced for the fight to be stopped. The crowd became silent after hearing Chloe's voice. Chloe then informed everyone that it did not matter whether it was the 8th or 7th knight who fought Ryuk. They would not win against him. Chloe thought that the Farman knights were becoming incompetent for not being able to notice the strength gap between them and Ryuk. Believing that the 2 matches were enough to intrigue everyone, Chloe announced to end the fight early. The crowd protested against ending the fight, as they did not want an outsider being let go scot-free, deeming that it would tarnish the Farman knights. Glaring at the man, Chloe told him that she could end whoever dared to oppose her without batting an eye. Chloe then questioned the man about the pride of the Farman that he spoke of. The man wanted to respond to Chloe, but seeing her intense glare, he became nervous and could not speak. Seeing the man's reaction, Chloe's expression changed, and she told everyone that what the man had shown was exactly the spirit of the Farman, unwavering against authority, believing in and acting on justice. Those are the Farman's teachings. Mio, who was observing within the crowd, thought at first that Chloe was a scary person, but now changed her opinion after seeing that she was loved by everyone. Knowing that the only one who could answer Ryuk's challenge was her, Chloe asked Ryuk if he wished to spar with her. Taunting Ryuk, Chloe told him that her blade was very much excited to go at it with him. Getting a chance to fight Chloe, Ryuk thought that it would be good to gauge his strength. Chloe reminded Ryuk that they would just be having practice and that the real fight would still go as scheduled. The crowd once again became lively, cheering for Chloe to teach Ryuk a lesson. Chloe told Ryuk that their fight would be a good opportunity for him to hone his skills. Knowing that the danger lay in Chloe's speed, Ryuk planned to rely on his intuition against Chloe's attacks. After the gong was struck, Chloe's inhuman speed had already destroyed Ryuk's bag, causing all of the amulets inside to be revealed. Seeing Ryuk not moving, Mio could not believe that he would lose instantly. Deeming Ryuk to be very weak, Chloe then noticed a crack on his sword, which made her remember Alicia's words about the blade being a knight's soul, and that if broken, it would be the same as death. Shocked, Chloe clenched her sword, unable to believe that Ryuk was able to break it. The crowd became silent once again, not able to see what had happened due to the insane speed that Chloe demonstrated, wondering if either one's attacks had even landed. Although Ryuk's intuition was correct, he still ended up getting hit and had his bag destroyed. In the first strike, Chloe aimed for his backpack and then dashed to the left. Though Ryuk was correct in both of his guesses, he could only damage Chloe's weapon. Ryuk admitted that Chloe's speed was beyond insane. As the crowd cheered for their princess, Chloe on the other hand was still in shock, still thinking of the words that Alicia had told her. Meanwhile, Leon, who was now locked in a cage, had become a criminal looking very lost. 2 knights were talking about Ryuk, who had defeated the chosen knights up to the 6th place. Since everyone had witnessed Ryuk's feat, one of the men wondered if Ryuk was Knight Zero. With Ryuk's abilities still unknown to everyone, the man was starting to believe that Ryuk might be even stronger than the first knight. Given the nickname of Knight Zero, the knight wondered who would dare give Ryuk such a nickname. Although the nickname Ryuk gained is not scary, the 2 believed that he was someone with an insanely strong skill and wished they had been born like Ryuk. Meanwhile, Ryuk was still at the arena, training with his slashes until his palms were blistered and bloodied. Chloe's speed kept replaying in Ryuk's mind. Even though his fight with Chloe was a draw, Ryuk still believed that it was his loss. Approaching Ryuk, Mio told him that he was pushing himself too hard. Realizing it was Mio, Ryuk told her that he was fine since he took rests when he needed to. Since Ryuk had been working really hard, Mio decided to give him another amulet. After receiving an amulet that relieves symptoms and prevents illness, Ryuk was very pleased, asking Mio if she was really giving it to him. Since Ryuk had been overworking himself, Mio decided to make that specific amulet for his health. Patting Mio's head, Ryuk was very happy to have received the amulet. Acknowledging that Mio's amulets were the best, Ryuk thought that he would no longer worry with the new amulet always with him. As Ryuk's palm touched Mio's cheek, she immediately noticed the scuffs on Ryuk's palm from practicing so much. After telling Mio that he was done with his training for the day, Mio then suggested that he take a bath to properly relax himself. Arriving at the bathhouse, Ryuk did not expect it to be closed, which made him wonder if he was already too late. Ryuk then remembered Kyun informing him to use the guest bathhouse freely since he was their guest. Since Ryuk was only at the Farman to learn swordsmanship, he felt awkward heading to the guest bathhouse. Upon arriving, Ryuk was shocked to see how huge the place was. Seeing that there was no one around, Ryuk wondered if he could even use the place for himself. Entering the warm water, Ryuk felt relaxed. However, to his surprise, Chloe was also in the bathhouse and was right in front of him. Unsheathing her sword, Chloe told Ryuk that she could declare his death depending on his answer. When Chloe asked Ryuk how good his eyesight was, Ryuk responded that it wasn't that great. But Ryuk then mentioned that he could see through Chloe's towel from the reflection of the droplets. Upon learning that Ryuk had amazing eyesight, Chloe became embarrassed and fully drew her sword, attacking Ryuk in the water. Turning red, Chloe told Ryuk that he would not be able to escape from her. Though Chloe aimed at Ryuk's heart, she did not expect that he would still be able to get away. Wondering if Ryuk had adapted to her attack pattern, Chloe still could not believe how incredible Ryuk's eyesight and growth speed were. Hiding under the water, Ryuk wondered why Chloe was in the guest bathhouse. Believing that Chloe was the one who was not supposed to be in the guest bathhouse, Ryuk was curious as to why she was attacking him. The Lord of the Farman, Lord Lilicabra, suddenly entered the guest bathhouse, stating that compared to every other bathhouse on the Farman estate, the guest bathhouse is always the best. Chloe was surprised, as she did not expect to meet her father in the bathhouse. Seeing Chloe inside, Lord Lilicabra thought that he had already reminded her to use the bath in the castle. Chloe explains that she thought no one would be using the guest bathhouse late at night, and decided to take a bath there instead of the bath in the castle. Chloe could no longer respond to her father after being told that it was the day for the male guests to take a bath, and he lectured her to visit the bathhouse when it's for females. Ryuk was trying his best to hold his breath, knowing that he would be in trouble if Lord Lilicabra found out that he was also in the bathhouse. Ryuk did not expect that Chloe would block him from Lord Lilicabra's view. Turning around, Chloe told Ryuk to hide behind her and get some air. Admitting that it was her fault, Chloe apologized and asked Ryuk to wait for her father to leave. Entering the bath, Lord Lilicabra thought it was a good opportunity for them to have a chat. Lord Lilicabra praised Chloe for her determination in swordsmanship. However, he then stated that the more Chloe tried, the greater her despair would be. The conversation then turned serious when Lord Lilicabra told Chloe that she couldn't become a reliable knight and advised her to stop her meaningless attempts. Listening behind Chloe, Ryuk could not believe that Lord Lilicabra, Chloe's very own father, would say such a thing to her. Ryuk was shocked when Chloe admitted that she understood what her father meant. The reason why Chloe kept honing her swordsmanship was to protect the honor of the Farmans. Chloe knew from the age of 6 that her unique skill would never let her be a reliable knight. Relieved that Chloe knew her limits, Lord Lilicabra then took his leave. Chloe then asked Ryuk how her acting was and informed him that her father had left. Ryuk knew that what Chloe showed was not acting and asked if she could tell him her story. Later that night, Ryuk met up with Chloe and asked her to stop joking and tell him her story. Ryuk once again asked Chloe why Lord Lilicabra couldn't see her as a reliable knight. Stretching her hand toward the moon, Chloe asked Ryuk about his experience the first time he left home, wondering if it was joyful or sorrowful. Confused, Ryuk responded that he no longer remembered since it had been a while. Chloe then told Ryuk that she would feel very happy because even though she is a knight, she has never once stepped out of the Farman grounds and would continue to stay there until the end. Meanwhile, a guard approached Leon, informing him that he was free to go. Confused at first, Leon then showed bravado, believing that everyone now saw him as someone who was not evil. Leon then asked if the woman he stabbed was casting some sort of enhancing spell, but the guard told him the woman did no such thing, even calling Leon a moron for believing she could. It was revealed that Leon's father had paid a sum of money to secure Leon's release from jail. After being handed a letter that came from his father, Leon learned how his father was disappointed in him for tarnishing the Hasenberg family's reputation. Since the other nobles haven't caught wind of Leon's crimes, his father planned to release him before that happened. However, moving forward, Leon was no longer considered his father's son and was warned never to step foot into his territory or call himself a Hasenberg. If Leon ever bowed his head and admitted to his faults, his father would give him one last chance. Leon was then advised to think wisely and reflect upon himself so that he could once again regain his father's trust. Crumpling the letter, Leon was very happy, thinking he could finally continue his journey along with his teammates. Grateful to his father, Leon planned to go to his teammates' aid, becoming a shining hero to them. Leon believed that his teammates were at the guild, waiting for him, as they always did. After being told by Chloe that she has never set foot outside the Farman grounds all her life and would continue to do so, Ryuk questions why that is. Comparing her to Alicia, who has no problems going out all day, Chloe reveals that her body is fragile. Outside the Farman's territory, the air of the outside world is very slightly polluted by the miasma born from monsters. Chloe's body simply cannot handle it. Confused by what Chloe meant by pollution, Ryuk tells her that he never noticed any. Chloe then cuts him off, explaining that a normal person will not be affected by the polluted air. Thinking that what she had just said sounded ridiculous, Chloe shares how she and Alicia once promised to become the greatest knights together, even creating a book about it. However, Chloe could only complain about it to Ryuk. It was a picture book that Chloe drew with Alicia, a delusional tale of two sisters becoming the strongest knights ever, even criticizing how bad the drawings were. Chloe remembered how she first drew the book, stating that Alicia would be the strongest and that she would be next. At that time, Chloe couldn't wait to turn 6, so her father would give her permission to go out and also receive her unique skill. The two sisters smiled, eager to make their story real together. Alicia also wished for them to travel the world together and become the greatest. When the day finally came for Chloe to receive her unique skill, her hope and expectations gradually diminished as her health kept getting worse. Laying in her bed, Chloe still wished to get better to fulfill her promise to her sister. Although Chloe can train endlessly in her territory without depleting her health, she would immediately start coughing as soon as she stepped out of the farmman's land. In contrast, Alicia's accomplishments and improvements were becoming clearer each day. As nights, the gap between Alicia and Chloe was forever expanding. Though Chloe asked Alicia to wait for her, Alicia never stopped. After meeting new knights every day, before Chloe knew it, Alicia had already found her lifelong opponent and it wasn't her. Tearing the book apart, Chloe blames Alicia for breaking the promise they made. Chloe then tells Ryuk that all of this is the reason her father said she could never be a reliable knight. Seeing a shooting star, Chloe wished she could be born again. Turning to Ryuk, Chloe then reminds him that she will never yield and will surely defeat him in their next match, not wanting to accept the likes of Ryuk who took Alicia's attention away from her. Wanting to face Ryuk in a full-fledged death match, Chloe shares how she would hate Ryuk for the rest of her life if he loses on purpose. So that Ryuk would not think of throwing the fight, Chloe tells him that his title of apprentice knight is on the line. After hearing everything that Chloe had told him, Ryuk was glad that he would have to face such a strong knight like her. He obtained something that he couldn't even imagine back when he was just a luggage carrier. And after hearing Chloe's declaration of an all-out fight, Ryuk was very pleased and expressed his mutual desire to have a full-fledged death match with her. Chloe then calls Ryuk a pervert for acting like a battle maniac after hearing her life story, which makes her realize why Alicia fell for him. The next day, the arena becomes very lively. Observing the continuation of Ryuk's matches, both Gilman and Gannett at first thought that Ryuk would be fighting the 5th chosen knight alone. However, this was not the case, as the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th knights showed up in the arena. Known by everyone as Knight Zero, everyone believes that Ryuk is mocking the chosen knights by attempting to fight multiple knights at once. Feeling the hatred from the crowd, Mio hides and wonders what Ryuk did. Ryuk fully knows that what he has asked is disrespectful, but he also knows that it was the only way for him to gain the most experience. If Ryuk cannot win against the 3 chosen knights in front of him, he will never stand a chance of winning against Chloe's speed. For his match, Ryuk carried amulets that focused on speed, illness recovery, 2 prayer charms, and 12 swiftness prayers. In order for Ryuk to deal with Chloe, he plans to utilize the swiftness of the amulets and use the new amulet that Mio made. When the gong was struck, it signaled the start of the match. Within seconds, Ryuk was able to strike the 3 knights with ease. As they continued to receive blows from Ryuk, the knights could not believe the speed that Ryuk possessed. Both Platanus, also known as the 2nd chosen, and Minarus, the 3rd chosen knight, combined their powers and used their unique skill to stretch out their spears at an insane speed. Unfortunately for the two, Ryuk was able to dodge their attack easily, leaving them open for a counterattack. With one swing, the 2 knights were easily blown away. Landing on their backs, Ryuk pointed his weapon at the knights' faces, showing that they were all bested by him. The crowd could not believe what they had just witnessed, as Ryuk managed to defeat 4 chosen knights with ease. After witnessing Ryuk's fight, Mio was very delighted to see Ryuk getting used to the swiftness charm. Knowing that the next knight to face Ryuk would be the first knight, the crowd mentioned how they've never met this knight and only heard rumors that they are strong. Gannett, who was just leisurely watching, was not surprised that not everyone knew about the first knight, and revealed that it was none other than Alicia's maid. Hearing Gannett, Ryuk was shocked as he already knew who Gannett was talking about. Entering the arena, Kyun praised Ryuk for demonstrating a good fight. Ryuk could not believe that the last knight he would have to face before Chloe would be none other than her instructor, Kyun. Smiling at Ryuk, Kyun asked if he would allow her to be his next opponent. Meanwhile, Leon, who had just gotten out of prison, finally arrived at the Adventurers Guild, expecting to see his teammates inside. However, Leon was greeted by their guildmaster, who informed him that he no longer belonged to the guild. Leon tried to remind the guildmaster that he was an S-rank adventurer, but the guildmaster sternly told Leon that he was no longer an S-rank adventurer, and that his party, the Wise Eye of the Dark Lion, was now demoted to C-rank, and that Leon was now suspended indefinitely. Leon did not find the guildmaster's words amusing and thought that such punishment was unfair for only stabbing one person. Leon then reminded the guildmaster of how he used to praise him for finishing the hard requests that were being given to him. With all of the accumulated achievements Leon had made, he He claimed that he was practically the one who made the guild. Grabbing Leon's cloak, the guildmaster angrily asked Leon if his achievements made him feel entitled to hurt other people. Staring into the guildmaster's eyes, Leon could not respond and was just frightened. The guildmaster admitted that Leon had finished some hard jobs for the guild, but pointed out that he was not the one carrying everyone, and revealed that it was Ryuk who had always been supporting the members of the Wise Eye of the Dark Lion. Confused, Leon wondered why the guildmaster would think of Ryuk as their savior. Seeing that Leon truly did not know, he revealed that Ryuk was the one who had dragged Leon's butt from the mud to such heights. Mio could not believe that the one ranked highest among the 10 chosen knights was none other than Kyun herself. Ryuk was curious about how Kyun fights since he had only sparred with her in practice, during which she pinpointed his weaknesses. With a different set of amulets, Ryuk plans to prove to Kyun that he is different from before. Raising her hand, Kyun wanted to make one thing clear before they started the fight. According to Farman's rules, Kyun asked if leaving the stadium wouldn't count as a loss. The other knights then explained that as long as the fighter did not flee from the fight or leave Farman's territory, it would be fine. Kyun was very pleased to know that they may be able to leave the stadium. Ryuk became nervous as he did not know what Kyun was planning to do. As their fight began, Ryuk decided to attack first since he had no idea what Kyun was planning. Using her unique ability, Kyun stepped back and vanished into her portal. Surprised by Kyun's move, Ryuk immediately stopped as he and everyone in the arena wondered where Kyun had gone. Ryuk immediately followed his instincts and stepped back, protecting his backpack with the walls. Seeing a wider view of the arena, Ryuk wondered if Kyun was outsmarting him. With no knowledge of where the portal might lead, Ryuk knew that he wouldn't get anywhere if he just stood in the arena. Entering the portal, Ryuk was surprised as he was teleported into a sword pit trap. Ryuk then used his sword to slow his descent and eventually stop himself from falling. It was then revealed that Kyun was also inside the pit, apologizing to Ryuk for trying to trap him. Kyun revealed that if she lost the match, Alicia would increase her training by 5 times. Seeing Kyun's desperation to even use a trap, Ryuk realized that even Kyun had something to fight for. If Kyun won the match, she would get a whole 8 hours of break, giving her plenty of time to visit remote hot springs and even get a massage. With water heavily pouring down on him, Ryuk assumed that Kyun was using water magic, but then realized that the water was hot. Before vanishing, Kyun revealed that the water was from the bathhouse. Since Ryuk did not have any defensive charms with him, his only option was to endure the water pressure, which was already tough. Ryuk was surprised that within the strong water there were swords. Inside the bathhouse, Kyun was throwing all of the swords into the whirlpool that led to Ryuk, admitting that her methods were not honorable. Kyun also knew that fighting Ryuk honorably would not give her a win. It did not matter to Kyun if she had to throw away her knight's pride. She was very determined to get her well-deserved break, even if it was the last thing she did. Being pressured by the water and now about to be pierced by swords, Ryuk thought they were nothing compared to Chloe's swordsmanship. Deeming the swords too slow, Ryuk pulled out his sword and blocked all of the swords that Kyun threw. With his speed, Ryuk finally managed to reach the top of the trap. Getting out of the trap, Ryuk realizes that he is now out of the stadium but still recognizes which part of the territory he is currently in. While wondering where Kyun is, Ryuk was surprised that the water is still pouring from the portal, making him wonder what kind of bathhouse has so much water. Ryuk then remembered that the guest bathhouse was huge and contained so much water, which gives him the idea that Kyun may be there. Not planning to encounter more traps, Ryuk decided not to enter the portal, but instead he decided on the safer option. With his insane speed, Ryuk ran toward the bathhouse. Meanwhile, Kyun felt relieved after not seeing Ryuk coming up through her portal, making her believe that she may have won. Hearing loud footsteps outside, Kyun was startled, thinking that it was Alicia at first. But then, as the footsteps got clearer, she realized that it was someone else. Hearing the footsteps getting nearer, Kyun cried out in fear. Realizing that the footsteps were coming from Ryuk, Kyun then switched her plan, now targeting Ryuk's bag. However, to Kyun's surprise, Ryuk was able to deduce her plan, blocking Kyun's sword from the portal. With tears in her eyes, Kyun told Ryuk to learn to assess his situation calmly and be stronger than ever. With the sword now pointed at her, Kyun's expression changed for the worse as she accepted her defeat. Kyun now thought that her life was over and did not blame Ryuk for making her miss out on her beloved hot spring and massage. Feeling guilty, Ryuk told Kyun that he would try to convince Alicia to give her a break. But knowing Alicia, Kyun knew that she would never be allowed to get one. Teleporting to a nearby volcano where Alicia was currently fighting monsters, Kyun asked Alicia if she could take a break. Alicia refused to give Kyun one, believing that taking a break was just a waste, and that losing was a perfect opportunity to grow. Ryuk then stepped in, explaining to Alicia that Kyun needed time to reflect after losing to him. Ryuk also suggested that Alicia give Kyun more time for herself. Not really seeing the point of rest, but since Ryuk was the one asking, Alicia informed Kyun that she could rest every 100th day. Shocked, Kyun cried so hard that she could no longer properly thank Ryuk. After calming Kyun down, the two then returned to the arena. Seeing Kyun suddenly raise a white flag, the crowd was in shock, as it meant that Ryuk, known by the crowd as Knight Zero, was the winner. Mio was very happy for Ryuk after defeating Kyun and was also pleased to see Kyun looking happy even though she lost. Kyun was the only one who was able to push Alicia down into a poisonous swamp and get a hit on her. Because of such a feat, Kyun was chosen as Alicia's maid. Since Ryuk was able to defeat Kyun, Chloe no longer doubted Ryuk's growth. With 2 days left until their scheduled fight, Chloe knew that Ryuk would get even stronger. Later that night, Chloe was at the training grounds practicing her slashes. Breathing heavily, Chloe wondered how she could deal with Ryuk's unpredictable fighting style. All of a sudden, Chloe smelled something horrible and ended up dropping her sword and coughing badly. Recognizing the horrid stench, Chloe wondered why it was in Farman's territory. Lifting her head, Chloe was in shock after seeing a horde of monsters. Losing her strength from the stench coming from the monsters, Chloe became vulnerable and ended up receiving an injury. The pain made Chloe react and she fought back against the monsters. However, the injury she sustained contained poison, causing her life to be in even greater danger. With Chloe reaching her limit and collapsing onto the ground, she begged for anyone to use healing magic. After the incident, Chloe was now in a room receiving treatment. However, the healer found it very strange when he saw that the poison was still spreading, even though he had already neutralized it. The healer assessed that if Chloe's condition worsened, she wouldn't be able to make it out alive. The head of the farm and household could only pray and hope that her daughter would survive and be saved. Alicia stood up and shared that she knew of a famous doctor in the city who might be able to help them out. With the trip to the city taking an entire day by carriage, the healer offered to go as he was certain that he wouldn't be long. With Kyun by their side, Alicia believed that their travel time would be cut much shorter. Though Alicia had granted Kyun a day off, she had no choice but to call on him since the problem they were facing was very serious. Now conscious, Chloe told her sister that she didn't have to worry about her, calling herself a useless knight for dying from a mere bite. Chloe regretted that she hadn't disappeared on the day she had received her unique skill. Chloe's unique skill, swiftness, granted the user a sharper sense, enhancing the effectiveness of their arsenal. Aside from enhancing the user's abilities, the unique skill swiftness could also increase the user's recovery rate, and its other unique skills would also be enhanced. Even though everyone, including Chloe, had already given up, Alicia was still not fazed, determined to save her sister even if it meant doing so alone. Doing things by herself was something Alicia was already used to, and that fact alone had made her stronger. With all her might, Alicia leaped from the top of the castle, landing at the Farman family's gates. Bending the bars, Alicia instantly saw Kyun bathing in the hot spring. In order to reach Kyun as quickly as possible, Alicia assessed that jumping down from the wall would be the fastest route. Before Alicia could attempt to jump, a horde of demons suddenly appeared, launching an attack on her. Unfazed, Alicia grabbed the monster's eye, subduing it in mere seconds. Alicia warned the demon that if it didn't want to face extinction, then it should tell its kind to stay away from her. After throwing the demon to the ground, Alicia then followed up with a powerful stomp, ending the demon's life. After running down from the wall, Alicia was still fighting a horde of monsters. Knowing that she needed to be faster, Alicia slowly started to doubt herself, with all the obstacles piling up and preventing her from saving her sister. Unable to reach Kyun right away, Alicia thought to herself how weak she was. With one swing of her axe, Alicia wiped out the horde of monsters in front of her. Enraged, Alicia told the monsters to come right at her. Out of nowhere, a demon cast a spell called Fog of Greater Poison. The attack not only caused injuries to Alicia, but it also melted her armor and weapon. As the demon laughed at the sight of Alicia covered in injuries, it let its guard down for a moment, allowing Alicia to kick the demon's head off. With an entirely different body structure from Chloe, poison was nothing to Alicia, all thanks to her unique skill, Heavy, which granted her more power the more she trained. What set Alicia apart from Chloe was that the stronger Alicia became, the slower her senses were. All magic, abnormal effects, and unique skills yielded before Alicia's power. Realizing that they could not win against Alicia, the demons only stood in front of her, shivering in fear. Though the demons showed how frightened they were of Alicia, she was also certain that the monsters would just attack the Farman territory once she left. Alicia blamed herself for being weak, for not having enough power to wipe the monsters out instantly and save her sister. With negativity shrouding over Alicia, Ryuk fortunately showed up with Mio on his back. Ryuk told Alicia to focus as they still needed to save Chloe. Mio reassured Alicia that everything would be fine as she used her illness recovery prayer to slow the spread of the poison. The rank C charm, Illness Recovery Prayer, prevented illnesses and reduced abnormal effects. Earlier in the recovery room, Mio had given Chloe the charm, which made her feel a little better. Confused as to why the amulet was so effective despite being only rank C, Ryuk explained that Chloe's unique skill, Swiftness, was also enhancing Mio's amulet prayer's effect. Since both skills were always active, they complemented one another, producing a much more effective charm. Mio then informed Chloe of even better news. She would be able to step outside the farming estate as long as she brought the amulet with her. Mio was more than willing to help Chloe out, as she felt it was her greatest honor to have someone like Chloe use her amulet. Although Chloe received exciting news, she still felt that she was not strong enough to step outside the estate, unlike her sister, who had gained power all by herself. Ryuk grabbed Chloe's hands, telling her that she could still become stronger with the help of others, reassuring her that there was nothing wrong with such a method. Taking himself as an example, Ryuk revealed how he constantly relied on Mio's power. Ryuk admitted that there would always be people who got stronger on their own. However, Ryuk believed that was completely different. He preferred a method of getting stronger with the help of others, as long as they were grateful and proud of it. Ryuk then told Alicia that she no longer needed to fight alone and suggested that she leave some of the battles for the others. He reassured Alicia that the farming estate had more than enough knights to help fight off the monsters. A knight then approached Alicia, informing her that they had already taken care of all the monsters inside and that only the monsters outside the walls were left. Upon realizing that she was no longer alone, Alicia thanked Ryuk and everyone for reassuring her. Alicia admitted that she had already reached a dead end, unable to see a way to Kyun with all the monsters ganging up on her. Considering herself weak, Alicia realized that relying on others was not a bad thing after all. With a plan to go after Kyun and use her powers to reach the doctor, Alicia expressed her intention to run up to the mountains and grab Kyun. However, Ryuk thought of a much better plan and suggested that they make Kyun come to them instead. After sharing the plan, Alicia was surprised, as she had not thought of such a method. Meanwhile, Kyun was taking her time, enjoying the warm waters of the hot spring. Hearing strange sounds coming from the kingdom, Kyun pulled out her binoculars and was shocked to see what was written on the walls of the kingdom. Deciding to follow Ryuk's method, Alicia realized something: that shouldering everything alone was not true strength. After the Farmans took care of the monster's attack, they were surprised when they saw how fast Chloe recovered from her injury. Chloe asks Kyun if the match tomorrow will continue as planned. Kyun responded that it will not, as Chloe needed to rest. Alicia joined the conversation, informing Kyun that the death match will continue, as it will help with the increase in the recovery rate by pumping up the adrenaline. Kyun could not believe that her master would suggest such a thing, pointing out that it is only applicable to her. Hearing the suggestion, Chloe agrees, believing that a knight should participate more. With Chloe agreeing and following Alicia's logic, Kyun asks if Chloe is advocating for suicide. After everyone left, Chloe heard a knock on the door and was surprised when she heard Ryuk's voice. Hearing Chloe's voice, Ryuk assumed that Chloe had already recovered. Ryuk then told Chloe something about their fight for tomorrow. The next day, as Alicia and Kyun are waiting for the fight, Kyun finds it rare to see Alicia in the arena, since she never watches the fights ever. Alicia had been waiting for a month for both Ryuk and Chloe to hit a growth spurt and test out their strengths. Also observing the fight are members of the Chosen Knights. Gannett asks her colleague if he is fine with not getting rest even though he is still wounded. The man responded that he and Gannett are just the same, their bodies covered in wounds. The fight was about to start, with both contestants' names being announced. Mio heard from the crowd of a deal that was made between the two fighters, that if Chloe wins, then Knight Zero would get out of the Farman estate. But if Zero wins, then Chloe would have to cook a meal for the night. The two laughed as they wondered who made that kind of bet. Mio suddenly remembered the two's previous bets and believed that the two have grown and changed their way of thinking, drawing their weapons and readying themselves for their death match. Ryuk prepared multiple charms in order to be on equal footing with Chloe, carrying 30 attack prayers, 30 defense prayers, 65 swiftness prayers, and 25 on-hit prayers. Ryuk is confident that he will be the victor. Mio was surprised when she noticed that Chloe was also using an amulet like Ryuk. Kyun noticed Ryuk carrying tons of amulets, increasing his chances of winning. Kyun was certain that the fight would not be easy for Chloe. However, Alicia saw things differently, as she could somehow tell that something odd was happening to Chloe's power. Chloe thanked Ryuk for the gift he had brought her last night, admitting how it made her stronger. Chloe reminded Ryuk that though he had helped her, they were still enemies, and that there was no turning back for them now. Mio was puzzled as to what Chloe meant and what Ryuk had done. Ryuk told Chloe that crying was not fitting for winners, announcing his victory before the match could even start. With the match being a contest of speed, the outcome would immediately show in just a matter of minutes. As the gong was struck as the signal, Chloe initiated the attack. Everyone could not believe how fast Chloe was, causing a whirlwind with just her movements alone. Kyun was shocked to see how both Ryuk and Chloe were moving too fast, making it difficult for her to know what was happening in the fight. Alicia realized that she might have made a mistake. Alicia only wanted the two to grow stronger. However, after witnessing how fast they moved, Alicia realized that both Ryuk and Chloe had already exceeded her expectations, making it difficult even for her to see what was happening. Ryuk was puzzled, but then realized that while deflecting Chloe's attacks, he had unconsciously moved to an unexpected location with his own 2 feet. Although Ryuk had become faster than he had expected, his current problem was that he had lost track of Chloe. Unbeknownst to Ryuk, Chloe was already catching up to him. Fortunately for Ryuk, he sensed Chloe coming and evaded the attack. Frustrated that she missed an opportunity, Chloe saw a hole and thought that Ryuk had gone below to escape. As soon as Ryuk landed in the room, Chloe had already caught up to him, breaking the door and continuing their fight. Ryuk was shocked as he did not expect that Chloe would become much faster. Ryuk planned to execute a counterattack. However, Ryuk was not even given the opportunity to counter, as Chloe was already targeting him as soon as he landed. Ryuk praised Chloe, acknowledging how strong she truly was. However, Chloe thought differently, as she believed that it was Ryuk who was actually getting stronger. The night before the match, Ryuk visited Chloe, begging her to be his teammate so that they could go all out. Chloe was startled, confused by what Ryuk was saying. Chloe reminded Ryuk that they would be fighting each other, which meant that them being teammates was pointless. Ryuk reassured Chloe that if she joined his party, her swiftness would be enhanced significantly. Ryuk revealed his other skill, called Turtle's Blessing, which made his teammates stronger the more luggage he carried. If Chloe joined Ryuk's party, she would not only increase her power but might also break the limits of her ability. Persuading Chloe further, Ryuk asked her if she wanted to witness the full greatness of her skill. Chloe, who had turned down Ryuk multiple times, finally accepted his request and had now become much stronger. Everyone was shocked when they saw Night Zero coming out from a window. Ever since Ryuk had set foot on the farming grounds, Chloe had been reminded of her unattainable dreams. When Chloe learned that the miasma would prevent her from stepping into the outside world, she gave up on her dream. However, Ryuk had also given Chloe hope and a new type of strength. Following Ryuk, everyone was in shock when they witnessed Chloe's speed resembling that of a shooting star. As the deathmatch became more exciting and lively, Alicia could not help but let her desire show, wanting to join the battle herself. Chloe was grateful that she had received a skill that allowed her to move so fast, as it ensured that no one would ever see her crying face. Grateful toward Ryuk, Chloe promised to give her all as a token of gratitude. As Chloe was about to land an attack, she was shocked when she saw Ryuk removing his bag. Giving up the bag meant that Ryuk had given up the fight entirely. Chloe believed that she had been wrong about Ryuk. However, before Chloe could land an attack, she was surprised when her speed abruptly decreased. Chloe then realized that by removing the backpack, Ryuk had also removed the effects of Turtle's Blessing. With Chloe's speed decreasing, Ryuk was certain that she would also have an opening he could take advantage of. Ryuk told Chloe that he had not enhanced her power so that she could win. Chloe smiled, realizing that Ryuk was exactly the type of man she liked. The audience was in shock as they witnessed Chloe stopping Night Zero's attack. Chloe then tells Ryuk that his rusty moves would not be of any help to him. Using her strength, Chloe pushed Ryuk back onto the arena. Not wearing his backpack, Kyun was afraid that Ryuk might sustain serious damage from the fall alone. As a knight, Chloe wanted her match with Ryuk to end with their blades. However, she believes that she may not see such a scenario with Ryuk falling. Staring at Ryuk, Chloe notices his eyes. Still alive and wanting to continue their fight, Chloe thought at first that their fight had reached its end. However, she then noticed Ryuk's backpack on the ground, in the exact location where Ryuk was about to land. Realizing that Ryuk aimed to land on his backpack, Chloe could not believe that there would be someone who would go to such lengths in order to win. After landing on his backpack, Ryuk immediately received a boost from the defense prayer, helping him not just to block Chloe's attack but even to break Chloe's weapon. Everyone was in awe as they saw an amazing fight, leading to Chloe's loss. Kyun immediately announced Ryuk as the winner as soon as she saw that Ryuk's sword was on Chloe's neck. All of a sudden, Alicia jumped into the arena, leading Kyun to believe that her master would praise the two warriors. However, that was not the case. What Alicia truly wanted was to join in the fight, slamming the two warriors' faces on the ground. When Ryuk finally woke up, he was surprised to see Mio. Mio expressed how worried everyone was since Ryuk had been unconscious for a long time. Kyun, who was also beside Ryuk, apologized for the behavior Alicia displayed. Ryuk then realized that it was Alicia who had knocked him out and was surprised that he got knocked out even though he had 30 defense prayer charms stacked up. After the match, Kyun informed Ryuk that he had been recognized by everyone in the Farman estate and rewarded Ryuk with the title of an apprentice knight. Ryuk was puzzled and asked Kyun if they were sure about the reward. Kyun believed that Ryuk was already strong enough and that he should have acted like a knight. After some time, both Ryuk and Mio were about to leave and were informed by Kyun that they could return to the city using the portal she had created. Before Ryuk could leave, a voice was heard from above, informing Ryuk that they still had some unfinished business. Ryuk was curious at first as to who the mysterious person was. After getting down, it was revealed that the mysterious person was none other than Chloe, who reminded Ryuk that he had to invite her to his party. Puzzled, Ryuk asked Chloe if she wanted to go adventuring with them. Chloe told Ryuk that he was wrong, explaining that, with her help, Ryuk would be able to prove the power of Mio's amulet. Chloe knelt in front of Mio, pledging her loyalty. Mio was very confused, wondering why someone like Chloe would pledge to her. Chloe explained that it was her way of showing gratitude for the amulet she had received. Taking the sword that Chloe offered, Mio asks Ryuk what she would even do with the weapon. Kyun then instructs Mio to put the blade on Chloe's shoulders. Following Kyun's instructions, Mio stated how she felt much safer with Chloe by her side and hoped that they could stay good friends. Chloe humbles herself, promising to Mio that her vision would be achieved. Ryuk met up with Alicia and thanked her for everything. Alicia hoped that she and Ryuk would become stronger together and could have more daily death matches. Due to Alicia's overwhelming strength, Ryuk felt like his hand was about to give out. Alicia then grabs Chloe, taking her to a carriage. Alicia wanted Chloe to see the scenery like the other girls did. After 18 years, Chloe had finally gotten the opportunity to see the outside world. Alicia knows that Chloe would soon catch up, even though she was behind for quite a long time. Chloe was shocked, as she did not expect that Alicia knew that Ryuk was her savior. Alicia explained how she unintentionally learned that truth. Upon seeing how both Chloe and Ryuk were so focused and serious in the fight, it reminded Alicia of Chloe when she was still a child. Alicia thought that if Chloe went through enough death matches, both Chloe and Ryuk would go on to achieve great things, even commenting on how well the two got along together. Chloe asks her sister to stop, telling her that she would never be with Ryuk. Alicia remembered Chloe's storybook, where the main characters were Chloe and her, following a scenario in the book. As Chloe becomes speechless, Alicia asks if she had forgotten it, the story about the strongest pair of knights. Chloe looked very puzzled, as she had thought that Alicia forgot about the story. Alicia then pulls out a paper, which Chloe immediately recognized. Alicia kept Chloe's drawing as an amulet, reminding herself of the promise she made that she would be the strongest. While Chloe is tearing up from Alicia's actions, Alicia revealed how she felt nervous when she was still 8 years old, afraid that Chloe would soon surpass her when they finally reached adulthood. Alicia could tell that Chloe has a gift for swordsmanship, and that she is more hardworking than anyone else. That reason alone kept Alicia's drive to continue working hard, not wanting her younger sister to surpass her. With Chloe finally making a name for herself, Alicia was certain that Chloe will become a greater woman than before. Chloe promises to Alicia that she will catch up and do her best. After her heart-to-heart talk with Alicia, Chloe met up with Ryuk and Mio, starting her new journey. Meanwhile, the person who had caused pain and sorrow to Ryuk was now facing another ordeal. After informing Leon that he had been put into indefinite suspension in the guild as punishment, what shocked Leon even more was when he learned from the guildmaster that all his power came from Ryuk. Leon was speechless, believing that the guildmaster was mocking him. Leon thought that the guildmaster was just being petty for not reaching the S rank while he had achieved it, hailing as the hero. Each time Leon swung his sword, it meant that another monster had gone down. Seeing other people struggle with something so simple, Leon just thought that those people did not have the talent, while he possessed an immeasurable talent. With Leon's power, he could challenge the ultimate obstacles of mankind, defeating the Demon King. With a superior mindset, Leon decided not to let his party have useless people, which led to him kicking Ryuk out. Continuing his journey without Ryuk in the team, Leon faced more challenges, which proved to be a lot more difficult than before. Remembering his actions, Leon then came to his senses, wondering why he was crawling on the floor. Leon then became enraged, as he hated being looked down on, and his hatred was directed toward Ryuk. The guildmaster then explained to Leon, helping him understand why Ryuk was the source of their power. Thanks to the combination of the luggage carrier and Turtle's blessing, Leon and the others' power had increased by 4 or 5 times. The guildmaster remembered how Leon and the others had returned from the Earth Dragon Spider and announced that Ryuk had died while trying to flee. The guildmaster doubted Leon's words about Ryuk running away, as he had known Ryuk for a long time and knew how Ryuk admired Leon, dedicating himself to Leon and the party. The guildmaster pointed out to Leon that Ryuk had always been by their side, which made the guildmaster confused when Leon mentioned that Ryuk had attempted to flee. Seeing Leon's nervous look, the guildmaster asked him if they had left Ryuk inside the dungeon. Knowing that leaving someone in the dungeon was a felony, Leon decided to just keep his mouth shut to avoid further complications, certain that no one would know. Leon was in shock when the guildmaster revealed that Ryuk was alive. When the guildmaster told Leon that he would make sure the truth was revealed, Leon panicked and ended up running away. Leon's actions surprised the guildmaster, who asked him where he was going. Leon himself had no idea where he was headed. His feet landed him in front of Rada's Skill Appraisal Center, a place where the most talented appraisers resided. Leon became nervous, asking himself if he had truly gotten weaker. Wanting to know the hard facts for himself, Leon stepped inside and asked for an appraisal. Seeing a visitor, Roddy tells Leon that the shop is now closed for the day. Leon becomes enraged, thrashing Roddy's place and demanding to see the appraiser. Roddy looked puzzled, and then acted like a scared young kid, telling Leon that her father went out for groceries. Unable to control his anger, Leon grabs Rata's robe, demanding that she call the appraiser back. Realizing that she didn't have to play nice, Rata cast a spell called Wind Claw. Leon was caught off guard as he did not expect that a small kid could use magic. Realizing that he was about to die, Leon ducks and shrieks. Rata then tells Leon that she was only fooling around, sharing how having a small body helps in dealing with customers. Now dealing with an annoying type of customer like Leon, Rata then introduces herself. Rata then asks Leon if he needs help in fixing his filthy personality. Embarrassed, Leon threatens Rata that he would report her to the Market Guild. Before Leon could leave, Rata tells him that she would give him a chance. Though Leon was filled with rage, he decided to comply. After removing his clothes, Leon felt nervous while being appraised by Rata. Asking about his strength, Leon was in shock when Rata told him that all of his stats and skills were not on par with his rank, which baffled Rata even more. From Rata's assessment, Leon's power level is at the level of a D-rank adventurer, somewhere between a novice and an intermediate. Rata still praised Leon for improving compared to when Leon first started his journey. Leon once again becomes mad, telling Rata that he was once an S-rank. Leon was in total disbelief, learning that all of the effort he had put in was for nothing. Seeing Leon in denial of the truth, Rata tells him that it is a soothing pill for his mental health. However, if Leon plans to continue on his path, Rata suggests to Leon that he listen to her. Rata shares how her skill, Great Appraisal, can see one's current status and can also trace back to a past status. With her ability, Rata learned that Leon started out as an E-rank adventurer, and for the last 3 years, Leon grew barely enough to be a D-rank. Leon had never shown strength comparable to a C-rank, and his power had remained stably low. Rata believes that Leon only completed hard quests because of his teammates in his party. When Leon mentioned that none of his party members were stronger than him, this led to another theory, which Rata shared, that Leon had a teammate with a strong support skill. Remembering that Ryuk had a support skill, Leon bit his lip, accusing Ryuk of sabotaging him. Leon starts spiraling down, complaining that Ryuk did not reveal his strong support skill to him, giving him false hope for the sole purpose of seeing him collapse. Rata was confused, seeing Leon crying and blaming others. As Leon pities himself and blames Ryuk for what had happened to him, Rata tries to calm Leon down. However, it only backfired as Leon suddenly picked up a blade, pointing it at Rata's neck. Leon then threatens Rata, ordering her to shut up. Rata had enough and told Leon that what he is holding is a coward's blade. Accepting the responsibility to straighten Leon out, Rati plans to use her magic to make Leon face the truth. Rati calls Leon a pathetic man for pointing his blade at someone in order to hide his cowardice. Using her magic, Rati covered Leon's mouth, wrapped his whole body, and tossed him up into the air. Dangling above, Rata gave Leon 3 options. The first option was to quit being an adventurer and find another career. The second was to work a little harder and become a fine adventurer. And for the last option, Leon had to apologize to Ryuk and make amends. Leon was puzzled as he could not see himself apologizing to Ryuk. A bystander shouted at Rata, asking her if she had obtained permission to use her magic in the city. Rata asked the bystander to let her off the hook and explained that the situation was just her acting in self-defense. Leon was still curious as to why he needed to apologize to Ryuk and believed that it was Ryuk who needed to apologize to him for tricking him. Almost forgetting the last option, Rata smashed Leon and told him to become one of her dolls. Rata informed Leon that she had forgiven him for pointing his blade at her neck and reminded Leon to consider how he planned to live moving forward. Seeing the beaten Leon, a bystander asked if he was okay. However, Leon still acted indifferently, pushing the man away and claiming that he was still an S-rank adventurer. Leon could no longer distinguish what was real after losing his title of S-rank in just a matter of days. Walking around town, Leon thought that he needed to do something to become an S-rank again. Leon stopped when he overheard someone talking about an accessory that increased lightning attacks 10-fold. Turning around, Leon saw the man reading a quest with a reward that would certainly make someone an S-rank. However, in order to get such a reward, one must defeat Behemoth. Running towards the quest board, Leon thought that he had finally found the solution to his problem. Leon believed that with the lightning sword at his disposal, he could regain his prime and once again prove to everyone how strong he truly was. However, Leon still had to face the biggest obstacle in obtaining the reward, defeating a behemoth, a monster that he himself had struggled to fight even with Ryuk on his team before. Realizing that he needed help, Leon thought that his former teammates would be of no use, since his former team had only gotten stronger because of Ryuk. Leon wondered if Ryuk would help him with the quest. Remembering Rati's words, Leon wondered if he could actually make amends with Ryuk. Though Leon found it ridiculous to make amends, he no longer cared and simply thought of it as a temporary party. Leon's mind was wrapped around getting the sword after defeating Behemoth. Searching for Ryuk as his first agenda, Leon wondered what he should do. Leon realized that he still had Ryuk's necklace and planned on using it to find him. Leon practiced in an alley on how he would return the necklace to Ryuk. Thinking that his plan would surely succeed, Leon sat down and reminisced about the good times he had spent with Ryuk. Morning came and Chloe immediately went to Ryuk's room, suggesting that they head to the Adventurers Guild to form a party. Mio smiled behind Chloe, thinking about how Chloe sounded like a little girl going on a picnic. With Chloe knocking on Ryuk's door relentlessly, Ryuk asked Chloe to calm down first. After the three went to the Adventurers Guild and had their party approved, they were then asked what their party name would be. While both Mio and Ryuk were in a bind, unable to come up with a name, Chloe reassured the two that she had already thought of one. Before Chloe could say their party's new name, Leon appeared and interrupted her. Ryuk looked puzzled and distressed after seeing Leon again. Leon then continued with his plan, returning the heirloom of Ryuk's mother. With a nervous look on his face, Leon tried to befriend Ryuk once again. Leon had thought that Ryuk, who was weak and pathetic, would accept his request for them to become party members again. With Ryuk remaining silent, Leon asked if Ryuk was still angry about being kicked out, explaining that it was all just a prank. However, Ryuk and the others still remained silent. Turning his back on Leon, Ryuk apologized and told him that he had already moved on. Confused as to why Ryuk wouldn't say yes to his request, Leon grabbed Ryuk's hand and asked him to wait. Crying in front of Ryuk, Leon became desperate, telling him that he would certainly regret it if he didn't come back. Leon knelt in front of Ryuk, holding on to him and suggesting that they leave the past in the past. However, Ryuk could no longer bear seeing Leon and told him how he had become pathetic. Ryuk informed a shocked Leon that he used to look up to him, but after Leon betrayed his trust, Ryuk no longer wanted to have anything to do with him. Not wanting to despise Leon more than he already did, Ryuk suggested that Leon get out of his sight. With his plan not working, Leon then suggested that they duel, with the condition that if he won, they would form a party again, and if he lost, he would get out of Ryuk's sight. After agreeing to Leon's request, the two then moved to an arena. Leon thought about how lucky he truly was for making Ryuk accept the duel. After sparring with Ryuk numerous times in the past, Leon was confident that he could end the duel in mere seconds. Observing the fight, Chloe asked if it was really necessary to accept the proposal. Seeing Ryuk's bag beside her, Chloe tried to get Ryuk's attention and inform him that he had forgotten his bag. However, Mio stopped Chloe, telling her that Ryuk wished to fight without any help against the person he once admired. Chloe was still confused as to why Ryuk left his bag, wondering if Ryuk even knew that their adventure was on the line. Mio believed that it was Ryuk's way of cutting off loose ends from his past. Mio told Chloe that they must trust Ryuk in severing his past and moving forward with them. Ryuk told Leon that after his betrayal he could still see Leon's swordsmanship. Ryuk called himself pathetic, as he could still feel his past self buried inside him. Knowing that he couldn't face both Mio and Chloe if he couldn't sever his past, Ryuk decided to finally destroy the image of a hero that Leon had imprinted on him before. With one match to end everything, Chloe confirms with Mio that Ryuk would have to return to his former party if he loses. With Ryuk not bringing his bag, Chloe asks Mio if Ryuk has a chance of winning against Leon, a former S rank. Mio prays and tells Chloe that they just have to put their trust in Ryuk. The duel started after both adventurers had their weapons clash together. Leon was surprised as he could not believe that a luggage carrier like Ryuk could hold so much power. Seeing how Ryuk was on par with Leon, Mio thought that Ryuk had truly improved a lot. Seeing Chloe's confused look, Mio asked what the problem was. From Chloe's assessment, she pointed out to Mio how weak Leon was. Chloe believed that Leon must be hiding something, as she could not believe that an S rank could be so weak, and even thought that Leon must be hiding a strong skill. Chloe informed Ryuk that he would ruin his own stance if he was too stressed, reminding Ryuk of his movements and his training. With Chloe's encouragement, Ryuk had finally loosened up. Seeing an opportunity, Leon tried to target Ryuk's back. To Leon's surprise, he ended up getting hit in the body. With Leon getting knocked out cold, Ryuk was puzzled, wondering if that was all it took. Seeing Ryuk win, Mio thanked Chloe for encouraging Ryuk. Chloe cried as she thought that Ryuk would lose and would be forced to separate from them. Mio then cheered Chloe up, offering her lap to cry on. Ryuk did not expect that he had actually defeated the Leon he had admired. What surprised Ryuk more was that Leon was far weaker than anyone he had fought in the Farmans before. Ryuk still could not discredit how Leon had completed many S-rank quests and saved many people before. Ryuk bowed in front of Leon, thanking him for everything and telling him that he had moved on. Leon could not believe that Ryuk actually chose the two girls over him. In an act of desperation, Leon gave the signal to a mage who launched an attack on both Mio and Chloe. With her quick reaction, Chloe pushed Mio away, saving her from the attack. After being covered with black miasma, Chloe immediately recognized that it was poison magic. Leon revealed that he had hired a magician with everything he had. Leon thought that he wouldn't be able to use the magician after winning, but with the unexpected result, he ended up using his last straw. After Chloe handed Ryuk his bag, Leon explained further how the poison was a special kind, and in order to save Chloe, Ryuk would need a unique antidote. Wanting to start their fight again, Leon set up the condition that if Ryuk lost, he would give the antidote. After putting on his bag, Ryuk thanked Leon for helping him bury the Leon he once admired. With the fight restarting, Leon suggested that Ryuk just make the fight easy. However, Ryuk was now full of rage, letting Leon witness his true power. Throwing a rock with intense speed, Leon could not react right away and ended up getting injured. Shouting in pain, Leon reminded Ryuk that he would not get the antidote if he kept acting arrogant. To Leon's surprise, the wall behind him where the magician was standing had collapsed. Leon wondered if the rock that Ryuk threw was the cause of the wall collapsing. Passing by Leon, Ryuk picked up the antidote from the magician and threw it at Mio. Leon thought that something was wrong with Ryuk as he did not remember Ryuk having such monstrous power. Realizing that he had to get out right away, Leon crawled silently. However, Ryuk had no plans of letting Leon get off easily. Grabbing Leon's wrist, Ryuk suggested that Leon stand up as they still had to redo their match. Leon lost consciousness out of fear for his life. Ryuk then apologized to both Mio and Chloe for making them worry. He then reassured both Mio and Chloe that he was now fine. Stating that he was no longer a man without a path, Ryuk suggested that they get back to their adventure. Remembering that Chloe had already come up with a name, he asked her what it was. Chloe asked the two not to be surprised and revealed the name to be the Strongest of Knights. While Chloe found the name great, both Mio and Ryuk had second thoughts. Seeing the two's expressions, Chloe realized that Mio wasn't a knight and had miscalculated the name. They then explained to Chloe that the name was just too simple. The three ended up arguing over what name to take, which eventually led to Chloe's suggestion being approved as the party name. That is the end of the recap. Unfortunately, the manga got axed at chapter 20. Thanks for watching.